right, so you want me to just kick it off or what?
Kick it off. Let's do it.
All right, so here we are. We're episode 13. We just passed the 1 year mark of the Aging Arborist podcast. My co-host, Brick. Today we are visited by James. It's Earhart, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because I mistakenly was saying Earhart.
It's okay.
Back, so,
It's totally fine.
you know, and I'm sure you've heard that.
Yeah,
right?
all my life.
Yeah, like
Earhart.
They put an extra letter in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I get Beister quite a bit because it's IE.
Yeah.
It's like the German thing, and so anyway, yeah, James has been kind enough to make a 3.5 hour journey up from Virginia to come hang out, and that's pretty special that someone's willing to make a commitment like that. So we're grateful that you're here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And in typical fashion, we've already been having a pretty good conversation, right? Kind of going deep already out in the outer office, and now we've moved it in here. So this is our official kickoff. So, I guess I'm just going to have you tell us a little bit about you. You have a family, right?
Yeah.
So you're a dad. How many kids you have?
So we have 3 kids.
All right.
Yeah.
And what are their ages?
Abigail's almost 14.
Okay.
Jocelyn is 11. Almost 13, almost 12 rather, and then Leighton is 8.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're obviously married. You've been how long?
Yeah.
Am I putting you on the spot? You know how long?
No. Stephanie and I were married February 4th, 2006. So
Okay.
in February we'll celebrate our 20 years.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
it's awesome.
Yeah, we were talking outside a little bit about that, how that's it's life stuff, right? Brick and I are both. How long have you been married now?
Put me on the spot. Yeah. No, 2008.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
Tracy, tune in.
No,
December. You know,
Yeah.
she's like,
She's not going to listen to this.
you know,
You live in a doghouse.
yeah.
But no, December 20th of 2008.
That's awesome.
So,
cool.
long time. Yeah.
That's great.
I think hopefully I passed that test okay, because I guarantee Steph will listen to this one.
Right on. No, that's good though, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of cool
Yeah,
to
that's good.
hear you unpack some stuff. Next year's a big one for us. We were married in '96, so I got 30 years.
Wow.
Oh,
Congratulations,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I think it's important for people, and Ben is a young married, right? So he's new at it. And I think, this podcast, we cover everything, right?
do.
Yeah.
It's, we always, Brick and I talk about how, the tree thing is what we have in common. It's what we bring. It's what we're here to do, is talk about things like that. But it's only a part of who we are. It's a small part of who we are. But I think a lot of people underestimate the work it takes. And, when you do vows or whatever, you're saying things that require you to live up to them. And that's what keeps the marriage going.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, like, the foo-foo, like, you're so smitten and all that. That's not really what gets it done when you're 20 years in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Correct. Yeah.
anyhow. All right. So you're in Virginia. You kind of told me before where you are. You said you're did you say 2 hours from the ocean?
Yeah, so it's a small town called Tappahannock. It's about 3,000 people. It's about 2.5 hours from Virginia Beach, and it's about an hour from the bay if you drive in a straight line. You'll have to pull up a map of Virginia and look at it if you want to really understand. But Tappahannock, it's in the Tidewater area. We have the Potomac River in the north, and then the northern neck of Virginia is the strip of land between the Potomac and the Rappahannock rivers.
Cool.
Then you have the Middle Peninsula, and then the James River, the York River, and all that.
Okay.
So,
and that's kind of where
we're right situated just on the south bank of the Rappahannock.
Nice.
So about 2 miles from the water, but a lot of the riverbank is tied up in very large tracts of historic property. So,
okay.
Which is where we generally work.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
and then there'll be a lot of subdivisions and small tracts and property like that. So we work a lot on the water of both rivers,
Nice.
north and south bank of the Potomac, north and south bank of the Rappahannock.
That's awesome. So you get some good office views then.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place to work.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool. I always love that when guys post,
picture.
they post up a picture and the views.
Yeah.
And, so that's pretty.
It gets pretty commonplace,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so you forget how special it is.
Yeah.
It really does, you know.
Yeah.
So
Now, are you the type of person that will? I think I know the answer, but I want to ask it for the listeners. Are you the type of person that will take a moment sometimes and acknowledge where you are in the tree and the view and take it in? And are you a smell the flowers type of person?
Absolutely.
Good.
Every now and then. Well, I'd say probably about every climb, maybe, if it's a big climb.
Yeah, good.
I'll be up in the top of a tree. The other day we were working in a place called Hanover Courthouse, which is it's not near any water, which is kind of unique, you know.
Yeah.
And we were up on a kind of a high spot. We're not anywhere near any mountains at all, so we were in this like a little higher area. And my head popped out of the top of the canopy of this white oak. Must have been somewhere around 90 feet off the ground. And it was just like, man, this is the coolest profession in the world.
There we go.
It is the coolest.
There it is.
And this is one of those things that makes it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am
agree.
absolutely.
That's
You
awesome.
just take a moment to just enjoy like the decisions that led you out to the end of this tree branch.
Yeah.
I love that.
I like that.
I love that.
I like that.
So,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I like that.
I think it's important.
And then knowing that you have to find your way back.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the same time as well, when you're a million miles away from the or from the office or the shop, and you're going to look at the dumbest crepe myrtle winter blight you've ever seen, and you've driven an hour one way, and you're just like, oh, geez, and then you're like, no, this is good, you know, because the next one you never know, you never know what you're going to run into on the next one, so just enjoy it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great perspective. Why do you think that perspective is important? Like if you were going to counsel someone, right, and say, hey, listen, maybe a young person, maybe someone getting in, and you were saying to them, take the time to do it. Why do you think it's important for somebody to do that?
Well, it gets down to we'll start right in on the philosophical side of things, but
That's where we want to go.
I think it's exceptionally important to never complain. Now, it's impossible for a human to never complain, but it's exceptionally important to have that in your mind, that by default, I'm not a complainer.
Wow.
And, even be thankful, like have an attitude of have a default attitude of that is one of gratitude. Because, I've got a friend who's battling stage 4 lymphoma with 7 young kids. And that's a, it would be much harder to be grateful in that situation than in mine. And I think that's kind of where it starts from.
Mm-hmm.
But also it just helps you excel, like at work, to have that mentality, and to, I shamelessly listen to people like Tony Robbins and Earl Nightingale and Jim Rohn and people like that who talk predominantly about mindset.
Mm.
And then the rest of them, like those are some of the older ones, but then you got a raft of younger ones, and you post a fair amount of content about those quotes and things like that. So, and the first thing they talk about is mindset and the importance of a mindset that is not one of a complainer or a negative, mindset. To have a positive mindset. It's so cliche, but it's so true. And I try to, as best I can, live my life that way.
Yeah.
And not to mention, it's predominantly what the Bible talks about as well. So we can get into that later in the podcast if you like. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it definitely does. You have something.
It totally answers the question. I would just add one little more thing to that I found is 100% correct what you said. But also, I feel for the safety factor.
Oh, absolutely.
And like when you have that moment of gratitude, tap into the spirit, God, whatever works for you at that moment, you're bringing everything back to a place that it needs to be in before you do the job.
Yeah.
And when you're in that state to do the job, you're more likely to be aware of everything that's happening. Will create that safe space for you. That's how I feel. So the rule I always have is for myself and for the people that work with me is do all you got to do, but once you get up there, before you start everything, you have to have a moment of gratitude. Look around, enjoy it. Kind of back off the focus into the peripheral, if I'm saying it correctly. And then this way you're appreciating that. Like you're in a beautiful place, a beautiful space, right? And then when you go back into focus mindset with gratitude, obviously, you're going to have, I feel, a higher chance of staying safe.
Yeah.
So exactly what you said, but also like even getting back to the reality of tree work. The industry has issues. And I always feel like that is how we deal with those issues. And that's not talked about a lot.
No, it's not. I think it's one of the reasons is because it's intangible. It's not like, all right, we're going to go out into the yard and do 20 push-ups and that's going to fix some stuff. And it's not like, but it's just a mentality shift. And one other thing that I wanted to add to that and kind of chase what you were saying is the mentality of going to bed with the thought of, wow, tomorrow I have the privilege of getting up and going to work. And even when it's rough, because like a couple months ago, and you know how it is to run a company, where basically the last half of your year it's a straight line to tax season. and it can get nip and tuck.
Oh, sure.
And especially if you have a lot of equipment failure, which we experienced late last year and early this year. And it was like, okay, I knew the tax bill was coming. And so we were kind of like, all right, I'd like to work really hard to try to get this going. And so it seems like you're just sitting there spinning tires.
Sure.
But at some point in that process, I was getting pretty bogged down. And then I just had to get back to that thought of, no, you get to get up and go to work. That's awesome. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Here we go. The alarm goes off in the morning instead of being like, oh no, here we go again.
Dread. Yeah. Replace dread with
gratitude.
Yeah.
I get to do this. Yeah. Yes. Let's get it done. So that has been massive.
Yeah.
I literally cannot communicate the importance of that. So, that may be enough said on that subject, maybe not because it's so important, but I wanted to chase what you said.
No, I'm happy you added the non-tree part of it.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the whole point of the podcast too, is like,
definitely.
You just talked about being at home, bed, waking up, like that's not tree related.
No.
And then how that mindset carries across life. That's what we're talking about. That's what I love. That's what he loves. That's what you love too. So it's awesome.
Just a way to kind of maybe even just put a bow on it is, I think it's vital. It's the I get to, not I have to, which, again, like you mentioned, some things become cliche, but some things are cliche because of their truth. But also what I think is, and just by way of admission, and I think this is a good tool for listeners, because what we try to do a little bit here is maybe equip, right? So we're talking about mindset, but all right, how do we, a big part of what we do because of the combination of the physical and the mental aspect of what we're doing can really burden. And then when you get in, because you're in the mid-Atlantic, so you understand about heat and humidity, the oppressive nature of trying to work aloft and demanding a lot from your body in an environment that's difficult. The heat's going to show up about next week in the 90s, upper 90s with a lot of humidity. It's going to get difficult.
Absolutely.
So what happens when you get 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Now you're in about mid to late August. It's very easy for folks to feel ground down. And so when we wake up in a negative mindset, my family's up when I'm up. I get up before them, but as I'm awake and I'm doing my devotions and having my coffee, my wife's getting up, she's helping pack lunches, my son works with me. If I have this heaviness, this burden, I'm immediately affecting those around me. And then the crew comes in and they're looking at my face. And by the way, I can be that way. I think my default nature is that. So I want to, maybe we're pivoting a little bit, but and we talked about it, practicing gratitude, but it's important for people to know it's okay to be like that, but it's learning to pivot off of it.
Yes.
And reminding
Recognize
myself.
it and changing it.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, you know, sometimes you post those quotes. The reason I do that is because those quotes oftentimes will help move me from a place of grumpiness or, you know, so I think, okay, if this affected me this morning, maybe it'll help somebody else.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think it's important for people to know, like, hey man, you know what? You're going to feel chewed up. We need to learn as men, as people, as workers to have tools in our toolbox to help move us off of those times when it gets difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know?
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, I'll even jump in. Since we got to the tree talk business, you're an owner. I know your company's in Orbit Care.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell the listeners, maybe tell the company that you have, the time you put in, but how about we jump right into how you got into trees?
All right.
Who are you? How did this happen?
Start with the company. Well, maybe I'll just start kind of with the origin story. Is that okay?
Perfect.
And then because that
100%.
came before the
it makes sense.
that
right?
came before the company.
Yeah.
a
100%.
little ways.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So my dad's a welder, and he was very he interacted a lot with us growing up, and was very, very emphatic that my brother and I found a trade early. Okay, and we're homeschool all the way through. I've never been to public school or private school or anything like that.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, you know, that was great, you know, and he was a welder. I really wanted to weld growing up as a young age. My brother went into the bodywork trade, and then I wanted to get into that, and mainly because I was like 12, 13 at this time. Well, then when I was 13, I started reading books that had, you know, the Hardy Boy series.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember,
All right.
yeah.
So I read that whole entire series. Well, like book 2 or something has rappelling in it. And that like grabbed me, like reach off the page and grabbed me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My dad did a little bit of, very little bit of rock climbing and rappelling in the 70s. So he had a bunch of books on like the Eiger wand and the different disasters on that mountain and then different stuff. So I grew up watching, you know, looking at those. I learned how to do an abseil. Practiced by tying the rope off to the railing and then going down the stairs. Abseiling's terrible, by the way, where you wrap the rope around your upper body and try to do that. It really hurts.
That's kind of like, did the military do it like that for a while?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, it really hurts.
hurts.
And so I started experimenting with this as a very young teenager at 13 years old.
That's awesome.
Well, he had a couple of old carabiners, some non-locking quick draw beaners, and then some screw locking Chenard beaners. And so he also was a knife maker, and he had these for making the sheaths. He had a bunch of big like sailmaker's needles and old artificial sinew. And so I made the first harness that I had was a dog leash, once between the legs, once around the waist, and then clip the little snap off to itself so it cinched on your waist.
Wow.
And then you tied the rope around that and then went up the tree because the trees were the only thing tall enough to climb.
Okay.
So I discovered that you could put past the rope, and this is with no other input. I just discovered it, that you could tie one end of the rope off to the leash, throw it over a tree branch, and then pull on that side. And it was much easier to hoist your own body weight up. That is what we know as the body thrust technique on a moving rope system.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what it was. I just knew I could do it. And so I started lowering myself down like this off of tree branches. And pretty soon I figured out, oh man, you smoke your hands. So I went into my dad's welding shop, grabbed like his nice goatskin TIG welding gloves, and then smoked a couple pairs of those, you know, doing that.
Did you see my gloves?
Yeah,
I don't know.
We had a couple of those at like
great.
98 decibels, you know, was the questions asked.
That's fantastic.
Where are my gloves? You know,
Yeah.
well, you know, you smoke a few pairs of those and look, I wouldn't recommend doing this to anybody because I have not the first clue how I survived this. It's a quick, I'll try to keep the stories to a minimum.
Dig in, you know.
I'll never forget. There is a chestnut oak tree in the front of my parents' house. We grew up in a pretty rural environment. It's since built up, but woods all around, and it was like a 6-acre plot of land with neighbors on either side, but each lot was 6. So, and then across the street was this old, Civil War camp, wow. and so it was pretty rural. Anyway, we're out here, and this chestnut oak leans over the road, and I'm up about halfway up this chestnut oak over the road, and I'm not tied in. I'm probably 40 feet off the pavement, hanging with just my hands.
Yeah.
And the other end of the rope on the dog leash. And I'm just sitting there, just chilling, enjoying my newfound tree climbing superpower. And this dump truck rolls under me. And that was, I think, the first time the fear of, there is a gripping fear I have of my rope tail getting caught on a car mirror or a truck and having that thing towed out while I'm hanging in it. Like anytime I'm working near a road or a driveway or anything, that is like a gripping fear of mine.
Interesting.
Is getting my ropes or throw line hung in a car. Yeah. I think this is where it started because this dump truck rolls down the road under me. And I remember sitting there, and the rope tail wasn't that far off the truck. Yeah. But I remember thinking, wow, that was really lucky. And then there was gravel in the truck. And I was like, well, I could have dropped right into that gravel and probably just rode away, because they do it in the movies all the time. They jump off of bridges in there. Yeah. And so that was like a majorly galvanizing moment in my early tree climbing experience, but no tie-in, no nothing.
So now, did you body thrust up there, or you kind of like...
There was a bunch of limbs. So you would just lead climb as you could. Okay. With once you reach some branches, that was great. Yeah. You could just free climb the trail the rope. Yeah. But then once you reached a gap that you couldn't get across very easily, you just chuck the tail of the rope, wedge yourself in a fork and chuck the tail of the rope over the next branch and pull yourself up. Anyway, so this is a long way of talking about the origin story. But anyway, so that was when I was 13. This would have been like 98 time frame. And I continued to climb with this dog leash for a while. And then a buddy of mine gave me a 1998 black and white issue of Cheryl Arborist Supply. Oh, there it goes. You remember those?
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's all over now.
It wasn't very thick. Yeah. And it was black and white, and it had all the harnesses and this is my friend Matt Hunt who got me into this industry officially, So I didn't have any money, and so all this stuff was pretty expensive. And so this is kind of gets back to what I was saying about the knife making sinew and the sailmaker's needles. Armed with this catalog, I took the Weaver windback picture, and I was like, oh, I can make that. There you go. And I took a 2-inch ratchet strap and went down into my dad's knife sheath making shop and cut this ratchet strap up and I'll stitch it here and stitch it there and stitch it here, and actually made a pretty bomber harness. I wish to goodness I still had it.
Me too. Yeah.
And
love to see it.
It was pretty crazy.
Love to see
and not a clue what the thing could hold. It could hold more than my weight, which was probably around 100 pounds at 13 years old. 120 maybe. Yeah. And so I made this harness. And this would have been maybe the spring of 99, somewhere in there. Because I'd made it, I didn't really do much in the winter, But, and then my buddy had a 5/8, 100-foot long utility rope that was mainly synthetic. Just absolute piece of crap.
Lots of poly probably.
Oh, right? Yeah. Really rough on the hands.
Oh, yeah.
And but it was long, And it was kind of thick too, so it was great. And in this rope you had, in the Cheryl Arborist supply catalog, you had, Brian, and I never get the guy's name right. He's the great artist who did, the great artist, Kochwicker or something like that. I forget what the artist's name is, but his first name is Brian.
Yep.
Sorry if you're listening to this.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, he had knot diagrams, so I learned how to tie a Blake knot. And so armed with this new harness and this rope and firewood, which was my first throwing knot. I could get a piece of firewood up pretty good.
That's great.
I could get it up there pretty good.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
And I went out into the woods and started climbing bigger and better trees and started pushing the envelope on this, you know. And so trees that had rope and had smooth trunk.
Yeah.
That was really hard to shimmy up for like 30 feet until you got the first branch.
Yep.
Well, I figured out pretty quick that if your rope was over the first branch, it sucked when you got up to it because you needed a branch under it to stand on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this was major trial and error.
Yeah.
And it is a wonder that I made it through.
You made it. Yeah.
Agreed. Well, and just sorry to interrupt, but like the first thing I think of is the amount of like neurons that are firing at this point.
Yeah.
The learning that's occurring.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just, your body and your mind are just completely in with it, literally every move, everything you're doing, you're just.
Oh yeah, I'm figuring it out on my own.
You're just like,
because
wow.
I have no formal teaching.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is when I'm 13, right? And I'm going on through here, and just friends would start giving me tree climbing stuff. So the old tree spikes you could get in like Cabela's and Bass Pro that were like this tall. The shanks were like that tall, and the gaffs were absolute
hunting,
garbage.
probably, right?
Yes, for climbing like 15 feet.
Yeah.
A friend gave me a pair of those, and man, they were horrible. So I was looking at, and I didn't realize the difference of like a pair of these gaffs to a pair of regular gaffs, like Klein's or something, or Bucks or anything.
Yep.
And I didn't get how important it was to have that long shank up to the knee.
Yeah.
So your leg didn't fold on itself,
It's like a medieval torture device.
Oh, it was terrible. Yeah. And I'm just sitting here trying to go up these trees with these absolute crap spikes. And just you get up 10, 12 feet and just slide all the way down and just absolutely grind your forearms to shreds. I think I have a picture somewhere of me doubled up on the side of some tree trying to learn how to use these things.
That's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, all this went through there.
Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
So you're saying your friend's Cadillac, Cheryl Tree Cadillac.
Yeah.
So did her dad work in the tree industry?
No, he was a welder. Yeah.
No, not your dad. No, you're like your friend that gave you the Cheryl Tree Cadillac.
Oh, he did it. He worked in it. Yeah, he's a good bit older than me.
Okay.
And so at this point, he was maybe in his mid-20s.
Okay.
Yeah, he's probably 10 years older than me.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So he was working for Jerry Schiller out of Madison, down in Virginia, up on the mountains, maybe Greene County. But no PPE and just climbing and doing takedowns. And Jerry was one of the old cats from out of the 70s.
Wow.
So he was a hardcore tree guy, very skilled, but just never got into the safety aspect of it. Never, I think the part of it that the comp has so much of an influence on, Yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, so Matt worked for him, and so he gave me that catalog.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Well, so I fooled around with this home built stuff for all of '99 and saved up all my money doing stuff, and then I turned 14 in December '99, and for the entire summer I saved up all my money and bought a Weaver wide back with the one strap that goes under goes under your legs.
Yeah.
I bought a bronze snap that was double locking rope snap. I bought 120 feet of Samson Blue Streak.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of those double braided 5/8 buck straps that had the spliced loop that, had the prusik on it.
Yep.
Right. It was adjustable. A chicken strap.
Yeah.
And so I bought one of those. I think the entire order, I still have the receipt. It's like $234.
Wow.
Oh wow, yeah.
From 99. And it's sitting in my office. I really wish I still had the catalog I ordered it off of, but it's probably disintegrated a long time ago from overuse.
I mean, having the receipt itself is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty. I'm glad I had that receipt. Yeah. But yeah, I think $236 or something bought me all that. And then my brother brought me the Tree Climber's Guide by Jeff Jepson.
There you go.
And he signed it to Jimmy.
Oh, really?
To Jimmy
Cool.
on your 14th. Happy 14th.
Oh, that's
Don't break
awesome.
your
That's
neck.
awesome.
That's
so
cool, yeah.
I still have it in my office on the bookshelf.
That's amazing.
So the Climber's Guide, the Tree Climber's Guide, as a young teenager, had probably the largest impact on my formative years than anything else. That was my first taste of professional input. Right. And the I can't say enough about the illustrations.
Amazing.
They were amazing illustrations. And I am a visual learner.
They are for tree people.
They're unbelievable.
They
They were
really are.
so good. And so I learned so much about limb walking and position on the limb just from those books.
Yep.
The other big book that was so formative for me was The General Fundamentals of Tree Work by Gerald Bronick. And I met him a few years ago and thanked him profusely for writing that book, because that book is like 514 pages and I've read it multiple times cover to cover. It's just devoured.
It's dense.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's a neat dude.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I've had
he's
the
incredible.
Privilege of meeting him.
Yeah, he's larger than life.
Big time.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Anyway, so going through that, after, the December, I climbed all winter into 2000 and just learned. Well, I thought footlocking was a gimmick. I really did, because I would get out the book, I'd lay it on the ground and try to footlock. Well, I didn't have the strength to hold myself up very much. So I thought I went that whole winter thinking footlock. I was just like, it's dumb. I'm not going to give any time to that.
Nice.
And the other big change for me during that point was throw line. I bought a slick line. Those big slick lines?
Yeah,
the synthetic
the
synthetic slick lines with the 16-ounce bag with the rubber dip. And that was huge because I could get that way higher than a piece of firewood tied onto the climbing rope.
Imagine that.
And that unlocked a major door.
No doubt.
But the firewood helped you.
Well, it got it to where I got used to throwing that.
No, that's what I mean.
One-handed.
One-handed. That's what I mean. So you built it.
Yeah, right.
And then the ball.
I know.
Just throw it up
I
there.
could rip that thing. Now, I really couldn't, but it felt like I could.
Yeah,
I could get another 100, I could get another 20 feet.
20 feet, yeah. Cool.
So that unlocked like a level of tree climbing that was really nice. And went through that year, saved up some money. I bought a handsaw, bought 2 chainsaws, an Echo top handle, and a Husqvarna back handle, a 55 Rancher from some friends. And basically wood burnt my way through that year because I had no idea how to sharpen chains. So I basically had 2 wood burners. And I couldn't keep the saw out of the dirt as a 14-year-old.
Sure.
But I got my first major paying job my first few major paying jobs that year, and did a lot of work for free. A lot of work for free just to build that knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the very first major deadwood limb removal I did in a big tree. I hurt so bad the day after that I could barely walk.
Wow.
Because I was so scared. And it stretched me because I had to walk some branches, and it was not walking at all. It was just straddling them and hitching your way along.
Ball crawling.
Yeah, because I had no high tie-in. I didn't know the principles of high anchors.
Sure, right.
Everything was just tied in. You just went up, tied in at head length above at like head height above the branch and then went out it.
Just flat angle the whole
yeah,
way out.
I had no idea
yeah.
that the advantages that a high tie-in could get you.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I could only throw in about halfway up the trees and then body thrust up, and then I didn't know really much about. I didn't know any techniques at this point.
Sure.
You know, still I was very sheltered. So and then growing up, the other big piece of this is I had no TV and no computers growing up. So no exposures to videos about this stuff. Zero.
Yeah.
And this is in the late 90s, early 2000s, like the year 2000. And YouTube wasn't, it may have been just pretty new at that point, you know. I don't even know if many tree climbing videos were on YouTube at that point.
You'll be able to find the stuff. YouTube wasn't a thing, but there's definitely stuff that you could find on the internet because the internet was booming. At that time,
I had no experience with any of it. You know, I just had books. You know,
So just a quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
It's just a question I had. So when you were saving money to buy these things, how were you earning the money? Like what you were
raking
doing jobs?
leaves,
Okay,
splitting wood.
So you were hustling,
doing little things for people,
Perfect.
right?
Yep.
And cutting lawns, cutting some grass here and there.
Okay.
But yeah, I saved up it all anyway. Yeah, so all through that time period up until 2001, I just freeballed and just recreational tree climbed. Well, in the spring of 2001, a major thing happened to me. I was 15. I went to church. We went to church every Sunday growing up. And a lady that always went to church walked up to me with an article, a news article. And she said, "Hey, I thought you might like to see this." And it was just a little clipping from maybe the middle picture of the Freelance Star, the local town paper. And she said, "I thought you might really like this." And it was the article announcing the Mid-Atlantic Tree Climbing Championship 2001. And I had no idea what that meant.
Wow.
And I kept the article. My dad said, "Yeah, let's go to that, see what that's all about." And it was at Mary Washington College, which was about 15 minutes down the road from my house. And we got up early in the morning that Saturday. It was that Sunday, and then a week later, got up, went over to the comp, and it was underway when we got there. But a 15-and-a-half-year-old kid walked into that park and hung out in front of two events the entire day: the footlock and the work climb.
Got it. Yeah.
And I was absolutely blown away. You cannot imagine the level of appeal that was.
I'm sure.
You cannot believe it. Well, and on top of that, Michael Cotter was climbing, and he's the 1998 world champion in Birmingham, England. He's from my chapter, but he won in Birmingham.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the other guys there were in my chapter at that point that were like, they were just, it was a shootout between these dudes. It was Mike Cotter, Robert Gallant, David Booth, Jerry Langham, and Frank Dillsworth, and then another guy named Scotty Beecher. So those guys were like really, really good. And, the event at that point was a 40-foot footlock, a 40-foot straight pull through a block, which was the body thrust event.
Yep.
And then the work climb, which it looks different than it does now. Then the throw line, which is fairly similar to what it is now, three unions on either side, and then no anchors. It's just 20 points max. And then the aerial rescue. So aerial rescue, I didn't really know what to make of. It didn't really interest me. I just, as a kid, I watched one maybe the whole day, but it didn't really interest me at all. I was zeroed in on that footlock, and then the work climb.
So at that point, you realize it wasn't a gimmick.
No. Yeah, and I got to watch Mike do it and Scotty Beecher do it.
Yeah.
And those dudes could do 40 feet and very close to, I think Mark's record was what, 10-2-8 or something on the 40 or something.
Right. Yeah.
And these guys could probably do it in 11.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit faster than that.
Sure.
Maybe a little bit slower than that, but they were fast.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, that was crazy to me. And then that we left, we ate dinner, came back because we'd heard about this thing called the Masters Challenge. And so Dad was like, well, I was ready to leave and go practice. I wanted to go climb. And Dad's like, no, let's go watch the final. And
this is good parenting, by the way.
Yeah, this is great.
I'm like, man, the old man is like on it.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna follow up.
No doubt. Shout out to Dad.
Yeah.
What's your dad's name?
Bob Earhart. Yeah,
Bob, okay.
100%. Yeah, shout out to Dad.
Is Pop still around? Or?
Yes, he is.
Oh,
He
good.
is.
Awesome.
Yeah, he surely is.
That's awesome.
And so I cannot thank my dad enough for this. I really
incredible.
can't. For one, just making the decision to take me down there,
Big time.
and then making the decision to come back and stay around.
Oh heck yeah!
Because I don't even know that I grasped really that there was a final. I think he had overheard that maybe just in listening to different people talk and reading. So he's like, well, let's go back. So we went out to eat and then went right back. And then Mom wanted to go home, so she went on home, and me and my dad sat under a magnolia. So you had I will carry this image for the rest of my life. You had the main gallery of people and the competitors out here, and then off to the side, my dad and I sat under this magnolia and watched from the side. And I can tell you, I won't do it now, but I can tell you the order of the climbers, what they did with stunning detail, and who won and why they won. And it was much different than the Masters Challenge was probably a 20-minute event. It was 3 bells. It was more of a speed thing. And you rolled in there. You had a groundman who could undo your base tie. And it was relatively new that you could just throw the climbing rope. It was one climbing rope. You could throw it through the canopy, base tie it. You didn't have to isolate it. It was very novel back then, I think. And Michael Cotter rolled up to that thing and just slammed one hand ascender on the rope. No backup, no nothing. Just a hand ascender with a tether to his harness bridge and just footlocked 70 feet straight to the top of the tree. Bam! I will carry that for my entire life. I can still see it. Just the image of him doing that.
That's amazing.
Just ripping up that rope.
Yeah.
Single strand, safety blue high V, one hand ascender cam.
Yeah.
Went right home. As soon as I got my hands on a hand ascender cam, started doing it.
That's it.
And then he called down. The ground tech would unpop the rope. Then you pull the end of the rope up, slam on your Blake knot, and go. And it was this just straight natural crotch as fast as you could climb.
Yep.
And he smoked that tree.
Wow.
And I don't know how long it took him to do those, but there's one move in particular that was so galvanizing for me on what good movement in a tree looks like. And then the rest of the guys followed. And it was pretty obvious who was second, third, fourth, blah, blah, blah. Because it was like a 3-bell work climb. That was the whole tree, right? And it must have taken him 5 minutes. I don't know. But a lot of this was donated to a lot of the time was donated to getting up to the top of the tree,
right?
Allocated to get tied in. So anyway, that was an unbelievable day in my early career. Yeah. It was probably the single most important day in my early career.
I mean, just as an outsider, and what I've learned just about psychology is when you have something of interest and you tie it to emotion, it really like locks it in the neural pathways, and I can see it in your eyes. You're I can almost look in your soul and see the image you're talking about. That's how like you're just expressing with such clarity.
Just the orange helmet and the blue khaki, the blue sweatshirt and the khaki trousers. Oh my gosh. If Flynn Anderson may listen to this at some point, and he'll chuckle because I know that he will remember that as well.
Awesome.
He was there too.
Flynn Anderson, that may have been his first comp.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I don't remember him there, but I think that may have been his first comp.
Okay.
Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling pretty
No,
Well,
pretty
we can.
hard.
I mean, we
but
can.
This is
no,
kind of the origin story.
No, it's good.
No.
yeah.
I'm gonna say you are not rambling.
Okay.
The story is going wonderful. No, to the point that we just said, like we can see it. Like
Yeah.
we're there. We feel like we're there at the event. But that is. I mean, for lack of better words, that is a beautiful story. How you have the innovativeness as a kid.
Yeah.
Which is cool that your dad was a welder and had certain tools laying around to take a dog leash, build a harness, then see a picture, build another harness off the picture, but then have the daredevil skills to be climbing, do all this crazy stuff.
Just free balling.
And my stories, I didn't do the harness stuff, but the idea of just doing, I mean, I can't imagine my kids doing the things I did. Like, I don't want them to, because
I know.
I'm scared that, and I can tell you feel the same way, right? But my point is that there's an innovativeness, there's a pure passion involved in that. You know what I mean? And then your hands on tactile, tree, all this stuff, and then that goes to where your dad becomes a parental figure.
Yeah.
In a bigger way than just taking care of his responsibilities.
Yeah.
You get this article from the woman at the church. Your dad's like, let's go check it out. You go check it out. Your mind is blowing.
Oh, my mind is smoked.
Blown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But which galvanizes the whole thing for you because you're already doing the thing.
Yeah.
And then now we're at this, the culmination point of this kid who's 15, right? 15 still.
Yeah.
15 years old. Pretty much knows what he wants to do for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was solid at that
That's
point.
it.
So
Yeah.
I want to follow this up with just a couple of points.
Okay.
And I'll try to make it as brief as I can, but I think this is really important. One was I went home that night as soon as I got done. I had no idea what the rules were. I just went home and I started footlocking. And I've been footlocking since that day.
That's amazing.
Don't footlock as much as I used to at all anymore. But the other thing I started doing was training for the comps. I tied ribbons around the tree and just started at the top and started doing basically work climbs, just with no knowledge of the rules. So that was one point that came out of that. And then the other one was on kind of a different strain, but just the responsibility we have as people that attend competitions now, not to get so caught up in the comp that you forget the people that are in that position that show up out of the general public that no one's ever seen before. You look around, and if there's a kid sitting off to the side watching, you never know what that kid's going to do.
Correct.
John, there's a guy who came up to me at that while we were watching the final. We knew nobody. And there was a guy who came up to me. He was with Bartlett, and his name is John Smithmeyer. Still with Bartlett. I see him every year at the comp.
Wow.
That's cool.
His son, who may not have even been born then or was very small, is now competing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Will Smithmeyer.
Okay.
And John is with the division above Division 4, so maybe Division 5. And I will always be indebted to John for coming up to me, offering me a job when I got old enough, and giving me his card and just making me feel welcome in that environment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because he was the only person there that I talked to.
Yeah.
But I will always carry a debt of gratitude to John for that. And so, John, if you're hearing this, thank you very much. I cannot express, my gratitude for that bit of kindness and care. Yeah. He just gave me also the invitation to just call him anytime if I had questions about tree climbing.
Wow.
And also pruning, because I didn't know what to do to the tree once you got up there.
Sure.
I knew I bought a couple books on cuts and stuff by Shigo, and so I knew about branch collars, but I didn't know what a drop crotch prune was. I didn't know what a thin was. I didn't know what a crown clean was. So he said, give me a call anytime, and I took advantage of that and talked to him on the phone a few times after that. But I see John every year, and really, we have a good time just That's reminiscing awesome. About that, and so those are the 2 points that came out of that. After that, kind of in to answer your question about the company and after that, the origin story kind of took a little bit of a pause, because I went into like 2001 to 2003 or 2002. I was too young to sign on to a company, so I just kept climbing. Kept cutting, kept working. graduated high school when I was 16, and went to work full time. That I finished school on a Friday night at like 2:30 in the morning, and then was working full time in Charlottesville building decks for a friend because he would hire a 16-year-old,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then he fired me on my 17th birthday. So I worked for him for 3 months and got fired on my 17th birthday because I was an out of control teenager who ran his mouth too much, and I smarted off to him a lot. And that was that's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. Just as far as professional development was to be fired as a teenager from a friend, a long-term friend of my dad. This guy just after 3 months, he said, "Look, I've had enough. You've got to go get some stuff figured out, and you're not going to do it with me. So good luck." And that was good. That was the best thing for me because I got to go home and think about that from December until April, and really kind of get some stuff figured out in my head as a 17-year-old kid. You need to shut up and work the next time you get this opportunity. Don't screw it up. Yeah. And so in April, answered an ad in the paper for tree climbers, groundsmen, and landscapers. And I was like, it's a long shot, but maybe I can be a landscaper or maybe a groundman. Because I knew several guys had told me I was too young because I went out and interviewed with tree climbers to be a tree climber. And they said I needed to be 18. Come back when you're 18. And so I answered this ad. It ended up being my first boss, who was the head judge of that first competition I went to, Wesley White, Fredericksburg Tree Care. And Wes said, "Yeah, come on." So we got a waiver letter from my parents.
Perfect.
And so I went to work for him April of 2003, full time as a tree climber. Never looked back. Went to work for several different companies. I did 3 years with Bartlett, which was some of the best 3 years of my career. And then made the decision to go out on my own at age 23 in 2009 and formed Arbor Care.
There you go.
So Arbor Care, I think part of that question was why the name Arbor Care. Arbor Care was a friend of mine, Abram Zeese from Texas. Who you might know, Abram.
I do.
If you've never met Abram, meet him because he'll change your life. He's a great dude. And just the most upbeat person you'll ever meet. And Abram's company was Arbor Care, and he was in Texas. I wasn't competing with him directly, so I think I might have asked him if he minded. I might not have, but at either rate, I went for Arbor Care. I didn't know of any Arbor Cares around my way. And then Arbor Care formed, and here we are. 16 years later, maybe.
That's amazing.
I guess. Yeah, it is kind of hard to believe.
So just hit the pause back up to the Bartlett. Those were the three, I don't know if you said most important, but three very important. Yeah. So one or two things that made them important.
Yeah, so I signed on with the Fredericksburg office, which was brand new at that point, with Rob Allen, who is, he's moved on up a ways, and I think he may be the head of sales. I forget what position he holds now. But under Rob, Rob treated me very well, and I learned a lot. Bartlett has a great deal of resources that they can throw at research and things like that. There's plenty that anyone can say about whatever. And Bartlett has good and bad that people say about it.
Of course.
I think I'll choose not to, genuinely, they were 3 fantastic years.
Yeah.
And I was treated really well at Bartlett.
Yep.
And so great guys. And I really enjoyed my coworkers as well.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the main thing. Then the amount of learning just about tree pruning, small tree pruning, tree planting. I chose not to get into plant healthcare at all because I knew I wanted to be a tree climber. There was one really funny time when Alan Jones, who was the head of Division 4, he came down to the office to just kind of ask us about what our goals were. And it was anonymous. We wrote them down on a piece of paper, and then he would read through them and then just talk. So you didn't have to be called out. And we were a small office. It was 2 crews, so we were only like 4 or 5 people, and maybe 6 at its most. I think we might have run a 3 and a 2 at one point, a 3-man and a 2-man crew at one point. And he's looking at the questions, and he kind of stops and he kind of chuckles, and he looks right at me. And he's like, oh no, he chuckles, he reads it. He's like, win the world record footlock and win the world championship. And he stops and he looks right at me and he's like, would you like to expound on that?
That's great. He just called you right out, right?
Yep.
That's great.
And this would have been like 2006, 2007.
That's fantastic.
I was like, nope, that's about it. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's like, well, how can we help you meet that? I was like, let me prune trees.
There you go.
And they did.
Yeah.
I pruned a lot of trees with Bartlett.
Yeah.
And Rob could sell his butt off. And I learned a lot about selling tree prunes from Rob. 1-inch crown cleans and 15 to 20% thins. And, I got pretty good at it, And so that was, we did a lot of big removals too.
Sure.
But up in that town, Fredericksburg, Virginia, it's not like a massive tree town. There's some big trees, and I did some big ones, but a lot of it was big prunes, a big and medium sized prunes, a lot of small tree prunes in the winter. But yeah, so I think to answer your question there, I think that was my main.
That's cool.
It was just a good experience.
I mean, I have a similar. My tenure wasn't as long as about 1.5 years, but I felt I just shared my story last time, and that it was similar. I felt like they taught me how to learn.
Yeah.
And then I got in with a crew over in Ballackinwood. That office was a little bit bigger. I got a lesson in humility because I thought I was hot crap going in there, and there were 10 guys that were 10 times better than me.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a lesson in humility.
I didn't think anything of it.
No, which I needed. But what I'm saying is the welcoming, the camaraderie, and I thought, this is pretty cool. And I thought, and I did a lot of growing. Actually, personally, as a young 20-something, kind of getting a good sense of a humbling, which I needed pretty badly at the time. But also the learning. And same thing, like I echo the same thing. Like I remember they were huge on the pruning, but even learning how to do like small woody plants.
Yes.
Like how to thin and, not to veneer things. And like my whole entire way that I prune is the way I was taught at Bartlett on these small woody plants. So
it's a solid foundation and you can really, really, carry that and develop it into more, the more you read about pruning, the more you learn about it from different people. It's a broad world, so it's not you want to paint it with a narrow brush, but I think what Bartlett's done is they've consolidated pruning into something that's easily replicatable for the sake of scaling.
Yep.
And they do very well at that.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for it,
Yep.
So, that was big. And then one thing else that I really wanted to touch on as well, that kind of gets back to getting fired on my 17th birthday.
There you go.
When I got my job in 2003 for Fredericksburg Tree Care, my first foreman, Courtney Soring, was so formative for me because I just had all the devotion in the world to him. He had been through the Navy, and he was just like the master of every situation. There was nothing that was too hard for him, and he had been through BUDS training.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think he got a SEAL pin, but he had been through BUDS a few times. I think twice, I believe. So he was tough.
Yep.
He was very tough, and the first thing I asked him was, how do you make it when, everything goes like, what is your advice on just interacting with Wes, who was the boss? He's just say, okay, and do it. That's what his advice was. I was like, right on, I can do that. And this is like off of my newly found experience of like not saying okay and doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. And so I learned how to say okay and do it. And Wesley will not mind me saying this if he ever heard this, but because we're still great friends against all odds. Wesley was not an easy guy to work for, and very volatile. He was very, you never knew what you were going to get when he came in. And so that was huge in being able to work with somebody like that. And also to be able to maintain the relationship with him to this day. He came and saw me just a couple, I think maybe 2 years ago. He was in town. He lives in Indiana now, I think. And but he came out, spent the day with me. I taught I spent some time teaching a climber that he had met from Indiana. They drove out and spent some time with us, and awesome. I had a great time with him. And we've remained friends, and that lesson was really important to any young guys that are listening to this, or girls that are listening to this. It's a pretty important lesson, and to be able to just to even if the boss is unreasonable, which is no excuse for that, but even if that is the case, just learn how to just say yes and go. There are those lines, of course, where you don't, like, if something is morally wrong or something is, ethically wrong or whatever have you, then you might object. But to just be able to be like, oh boy, here we go again, or not getting dressed down or yelled at or something,
or not simply debate every single thing for the sake of debate, like, and some of that comes down to leadership style. Like you mentioned, there's a leadership style there. Like if someone's inclusive and say, okay, give me ideas, share, tell me your plan. Yeah. That's one thing. But if it's like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. And this was like, all right, guys, it was really bad.
Oh, okay.
It was really bad.
Right.
Oh yeah. And you would get yelled at for the slightest thing.
Okay.
It was terrible. Yeah. I mean, guys were like, my foreman, I watched him hurl his helmet into the side of the truck one day.
Yeah.
And he's like, we were headed to this meeting. He's like, I just hope he tries to hit me, and I didn't blame him at all. Cause I was mad too. But I was just like, wow, what's going to happen? And, you kind of learn through that. But anyway, that's a little bit of a side note, but that was very, very influential in forming who I am today as a professional.
Especially after you were saying that, because you said you were, to keep it PG, but you had a fresh mouth.
Oh yeah,
talking back, you knew all the answers and everything else. Got fired, and then you have this guy who's essentially could have been a Navy SEAL, but stone, strong man. In your life, that's like he's not putting up with your fresh mouth.
No,
it's not going to work.
No,
and then you ask him how to deal with things, and his answer is as simple as it is.
Yeah,
it's what all of us need when we're kids growing up. Like, hey, you're gonna have to zip it.
Yes.
Deal with it, and then figure it out from that point on too.
Shut up and go.
Yeah, shut up and go. I mean, I'm with you. And unfortunately, and I'll be the one to say it, but like we need more of that with the kids these days.
Yeah, I agree.
And the general population, like there needs to be a lot more respect towards that there's a hierarchy in that. Even like you said, the supervisor or leader cannot be a good person, but you got to learn how to deal with that. Yes. But if you have a good one, you also have to respond the same way.
Yeah.
Shut up and go.
Yeah.
Like figure it out. It's gonna bear fruit. You just don't know when.
That's right. Yeah, it will, and it may not ever get better because you don't control that other person.
Exactly.
Especially not if he's your boss.
Yeah.
You just control you.
Correct.
Yeah, actually, in life, you control painfully little. So it's like,
well, and one of the biggest things you touched on earlier is your attitude.
Attitude.
That is the simple biggest thing you can control. And maybe you guys will agree with this parallel. I'm not sure, but it's making me think of, way back in my early days, I did some acting courses. I wanted to be in action movies and whatever. So I took this one class one time, and they had us take this one prompt. It was a physical prompt. And they had us, it was like walking. And then the woman said, walk. And as you walk, begin to notice how you're walking and accentuate the things that are, until we got to the point of ridiculous. And the idea was that it helped you build range. You knew what was possible on the top end. And what it reminds me of is learning how to say yes and go, even if maybe you don't agree. And again, the caveat being, as long as it's not immoral or you're literally risking your life. But to me, it seems like learning that and having the ability to question gives you a range,
Yeah, sure.
right?
Yeah.
It's sort of lays for you in your mind. Well, at the basic level, I can say yes and just do it. And even if the plan falls miserably on its face, I'm executing the plan that the person said they wanted to do. And it's kind of their responsibility.
It's their responsibility.
But I'm going to do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just like how that, to me, that sets, I won't say a low end, but it sets part of the range. You know?
It sets a standard. It set for me a standard of what I did not want to be like as an employer.
Well, there you go. Yeah, perfect. And that works. That works.
How I did not want to treat people.
Yeah.
So, I formed who I am as an employer for good or for bad off of that.
Yeah.
I think Charlie Munger, the great Wall Street investor, has a saying, it's hard to be great, but it's easy to not be idiotic.
Oh, there you go.
So
that's a good one. I haven't heard that one. Yeah.
He kind of based his philosophy off of that's a starting place, and then, for kind of being an employer. And it sounds pitiful, but it's actually kind of true. And then you build off of how to be exceptional off of that. Anyway,
that's a good one. I haven't heard that.
I
one
love
before.
that.
Yeah.
And I would love to. I would love to just expand on because a big thing I talk about just in my life in general, whether it's with Brick, my wife, my kids, my friend and instructor, Andy Masterson, we talk about sort of, average, above average being excellent. What are a couple things like, and I'm not necessarily specifically talking about climbing or comps. You can touch on that, but in life, like it's a very, it's like the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule. 80% of the people exist here.
Yes.
And there's 20% that excel. And in that, there's probably even an upper group, like a Goggins, right? Who's just completely off.
Of course, he's off the chart.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you think, or what are some bits of advice or words that when you evaluate yourself, whether it's as a boss, as a dad, husband, competitive climber, right? What is it that would make someone operate in that top 20%? What do you think what's important for people to know as a listener that makes someone excel or go from that good to great, right? To just be, you know what I mean?
And your question it's pretty broad. I could answer it on several different fronts.
I would say,
so I'm gonna approach it as an employer, interviewing an employee.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool.
Is that okay? Is that an okay?
Whatever it prompts, run with it.
What I look for when say if I'm interviewing an employee or a prospective employee, or let's take it another. Let's also include maybe if I am at a comp and a young climber comes up to me as a competitor, and starts asking me about some things as I evaluate maybe who this person is and what their potential might be.
Sure.
So there's a couple of things, and one is it has very little to do with talent. Very little to do with talent. Talent helps. Like if you're a good talented climber,
sure.
It helps you be able to prune. It makes it to where the training process may be a little easier. Or you could start at a more advanced stage than maybe square one. But also at comps, talent helps, but it just might abbreviate the learning curve some. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But give me class C talent with class A attitude, and I'll take that anytime. Rather than class C attitude with class A talent. And probably as an employee, this wouldn't necessarily be a prospective competitor. Just in helping somebody maybe try to advance their skill set, but stability is a massive characteristic.
Interesting. Okay.
Reliability.
Yeah.
If I have confidence that you're going to show up every day, then that is kind of like the block one.
Yep.
Do I have confidence that this person show up every day? And if the answer to that is yes, then I'll move on to the next one, which is be like, well, what is their general attitude going to be like? You might have the good extreme and the bad extreme, but like, where are they going to reside?
Yeah.
Because I'm not asking you to be happy all the time.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can actually be kind of grumpy, but as long as you're not stupid, extreme bad attitude,
Right.
I can work with grumpy.
Sure.
No problem.
Or dragging everyone else.
Yeah,
down.
exactly. Yeah. As long as you're
If
just
your bad
you know-
attitude doesn't have gravity.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So, but we can work with that.
Sure.
And that's something I can have hope that through culture or maybe environment, we might be able to impact positively.
Yeah. Agreed.
So that would be another big one.
Mhm.
And then what you don't like, okay, the other big one is like work ethic. And
Mhm.
work ethic is very hard to ascertain in an interview because everybody's great in an interview.
Mm-hmm.
But you get them out onto that job site, give them 2 weeks. I've got about a 2-week grace period
Mhm.
because my first company, that guy went through 35 people in a year and a half, and I got to really look at a variety of people.
Wow.
And it gave me a great opportunity to be able to evaluate people and read people
Yeah.
from all walks of life. And most of them were pretty rough, very rough people. Well, they were people that had very rough experiences.
Sure.
Well, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Once you get, I figured out that you give people about 2 weeks. And so if they get out on the job site and they freeze and they're looking around and they're watching, this could mean a couple of things. It could mean one, and most commonly, that they probably aren't going to be great workers. Most commonly.
Mm-hmm.
But give them some time. What it can also mean is that they're shy, like they're naturally very reserved. So they might be learning, just watching so they don't get hurt, right? I've had that experience. And then after like 2 weeks or a month, bam, the light goes off in their head. They know what to do and they take off. So it's very important to give people time. The other thing that could mean is that they're just, just kind of, just straight scared, and some people are straight scared.
Sometimes,
Sometimes
right, they get in,
it's
it's just there's so much going. You got
Yeah.
a guy, there's big pieces coming down, and all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
Right.
And it takes them a minute.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're freeloaders.
Sure.
Right. So it's one of those things where it's just it's very important to give people the benefit of the doubt. But I think getting back to your initial question, did that?
Yeah, I think you gave a couple really good examples.
Just a couple of fundamental characteristics that I look for.
Yeah, no, and I think it's important. If anything, and we talked about it out there, is if we can bring a tool, a sense of equipping.
Yeah.
I think I don't know you well, but the experiences I've had and the conversations we're having and that we're having now, and knowing Brick the way I do. Being a business owner and talking about how you engage with employees, I think it's fair to say, it's a fair jump for me to say that we are willing to invest in people.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that we want to.
Absolutely.
And so if this podcast is about anything, if we can just give a little insight, a little tool that might help somebody hearing like, oh, hey, maybe I should be grateful. Hey, maybe I should work on my attitude. It's the, I look at it as, so much has been given to me through this industry and the people I've met.
Yes.
That to me, it just seems like a natural extension that I would want to push it back in.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think you did a great job.
Here's a big one. Getting back to this time when I had that losing my first job. There's a guy that went to church with me. Oddly enough, he's the father of my lead climber. Brian Campbell. So this guy's name was Donald. Brian's dad. Yeah. You know Brian.
Yeah. I think I met him once or twice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very quiet guy.
Yes.
Steady as all get out. Just the nicest guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be over bubbly happy, but he's never got a bad attitude.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's just steady as a rock. Right. He's been with me for 14 years.
Wow.
He went to Charlottesville. He got married and moved to Charlottesville for 2 years and then moved back to Tappahannock and then signed back on with me. So with the exception of those 2 years, he's been with me for 14 years. And I grew up with him. And so his dad, Donald, is one of the most laid back, nicest people you'll ever meet. And he's a machinist. And he's been with the same company for 30 plus years, but maybe close to 40 years now.
Wow.
And after that happened, we were at a church function, and Donald and I were washing pots and pans together in the kitchen. And I always got on well with Donald. And and I was just telling him this experience of losing my job. And he said, Jimmy, and he just listen to the whole thing, listen to the whole experience. He's a real quiet, very soft-spoken guy. He's like, Jimmy, he's like, I'm not the best machinist, but I come to work with a good attitude every day. And he's like, I have outlasted some of the best machinists I've ever seen in my life because of that reason.
Wow.
And so I took that for my whole life. I just remembered that when you shared that just now. I just remembered that experience. But that was, oddly enough, that was my guy Brian's dad told me that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I've carried that, through my entire career since then. And that would have been since 2002. So for 23 years now. But yeah, I think, that's about.
That's cool. There's a quote, and I may actually try to look it up here in a second, but it's trying to think of Calvin Coolidge. There's a quote, and I'm going to look it up, where he talks about, the world has in its wake littered people with talent but no drive.
Yeah.
It has there's this whole, and it's one of my favorite quotes, but I can't remember it. But when I read it, it's I'm going to take a second and look it up. But yeah, I find the same thing.
Bill Belichick is another big one. The great coach of the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Okay. He built the New England Patriots Randy Moss may have been a superstar.
Sure.
But he added him after the foundation was laid with
Correct.
people that were largely not superstars.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I got that one, the class A attitude with the class C talent. That's a direct quote from Bill Belichick, I believe. I think I got that from him. So anyway.
I don't know. Do you have anything you want to add to what? I'm just going to try to take a second. I know I'm on camera and all, but I just feel like it's worth sharing if I can find it. Hey guys, you are watching and listening to the Aging Arborist podcast. Thanks for coming along this journey with us. Brick and I are super excited to announce our sponsor, the Modern Group. Modern Equipment has been a very faithful sponsor to the New Jersey chapter of ISA, and we are also, at Tree Awareness, clients of theirs. We have bought several pieces of equipment from them, and they have been absolutely amazing. From the sales team to the service department to parts. If you're looking for equipment in the tree space or construction in general, please do yourself a favor and check out the Modern Group. They have 2 locations, one in Bristol, PA, and a brand new, just opening location in Tabernacle, New Jersey. You can go to moderngroup.com and check them out. Please, for all your tree equipment and construction equipment, go see the folks at Modern. They are second to none. So this is Calvin Coolidge, famously known as Cool Cal, they used to call him. Anyway, Calvin Coolidge famously stated, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." He emphasized that while talent, genius, and education are valuable, they are not enough on their own to achieve success. True success, according to Coolidge, comes from the unwavering dedication to see things through regardless of obstacles.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And it takes a lot of character to be able to see things through.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Thank you for
for
reading that. I've never heard that quote before. I've heard bits of that quote, but not in its entirety.
Yeah. I always enjoy going back to it and rereading it.
Yeah. So that's a good prelude in talking about my parents.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because really, their entire growing up years, there's lots of obstacles and lots of hardship. But anyway, What was the general question there? Just talking about my parents and their impact on my on my formative years.
Yeah.
And I think it specifically was just being able to give me the freedom to do this stuff, even though it was dangerous.
I don't like using the word strict. You're structured, but also having the space. So that's
So I grew up very conservatively, and so yes, they were strict parents as far as behavioral, accepted behavior, things that were language, the way you treated people, the way you spoke, the way that I could speak to my parents. You had to watch your tongue. So I grew up very, very young age. I was disciplined with spanking, and that is something I've never been sorry for. Occasionally it was in anger, and that's a problem. My dad be the first person to tell you that. But it is what it is. It was probably deserved. Because I was probably
James was ornery.
Yeah, exactly. I was ornery. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
That's very fair. And but through that, it gave me a good foundation. I grew up watching my dad go to work, and I will always be indebted to him for this. He worked a double shift, never made much, very limited resources, but he went to work like clockwork. I remember getting up, one car would be broken down, so we got out of bed at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and we all loaded up in the car, very young kids, took my dad to work, dropped him off, drove home, and then went back. And then he worked all afternoon on the truck. And then we did the same thing for a couple days until he got that sucker fixed, and then could so I learned that at a very young age.
Yep.
And but growing up, when I got to doing things like tree climbing and stuff that was dangerous, say, my mom and dad, I have no idea really what they were thinking as far as the amount of leeway they gave me. I guess sometimes I kind of wonder if my dad was like, well, if he's supposed to survive, he'll survive, and there's nothing we're going to do to keep him out of the trees. I don't know. Yeah. I've actually never really asked him, because he's actually a very, very safety conscious guy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But man, I've always been puzzled. My wife and I have both always been puzzled by the amount of leeway that I had as far as climbing trees goes, and the amount of dangerous stuff I got involved in. And I was heavy into building tree forts, and these were sketchy tree forts. One of them had 9 trees, because I was into building bridges across from tree to tree, and one of them broke on me, and then I discovered supporting systems and all this. But I mean, you're talking about an 8-penny nail nailed through an old piece of 1x6 siding into the side of a thick bark tree. How does that hold? And I mean, you're going up 30 feet with this stuff. That's and cool. Hooking a leg putting a foot on the board, hooking a leg around the tree and just nailing. I mean, how did I live through that? I don't know.
No. Divine intervention.
They say the 2 most important days are the day you were born and the day you find out why. I don't know, and it's like, well, there has to be something, So anyway, so they gave me a lot of leeway. Very, very supportive parents. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in my competition efforts, and also finding a job, in pursuing, like I started out with, my dad was very adamant at an early age of finding a career very early on. Mm. And that's kind of how the origin story started, was just looking for a career, something that I could make money with to support a life, know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I think that is, and I will always be indebted to them for that start in life. Mm-hmm. Just that work ethic, that example of work ethic, that example of determination and grit in life, devotion to each other, devotion to God, devotion to, just wanting to do the right thing. and yeah, I'll always be indebted to him for that.
That's
awesome.
I'm happy to.
I could go on and on and on and on about that. But
Siblings. You have siblings?
Siblings. I have one brother. He's 3.5 years older than
Okay.
me. He is he went into the auto body trade,
Right.
and he is also a custom knife maker. He's incredible.
That's awesome.
He does Damascus and does all the fine stuff, like the
Really?
inlays and all that.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a journeyman smith, and I just got back from the Knife Expo in Atlanta, Georgia. So that's like our TCI Expo.
Yeah.
And
sure.
so he's heavy in.
That's cool.
And look him up on Instagram, Bobby Earhart Knives.
I'm going to have to
And-
get that
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm like, my son and I, well, we both collect.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, I don't have anything crazy, but I like adding stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
He is,
Yeah.
and DM him, message him, and he's great. Yeah,
That's
he's
awesome.
absolutely great.
That's pretty cool. So you guys there was a forge at you because you said your dad did it, right?
Yeah, my
So
dad.
there's a forge at your
I
house?
grew up actually forging with coal, and that's a
incredible.
very unique experience for kids.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And I grew up very closely involved with firearms, and I grew up, there again. My dad was very safety conscious
Yep.
with that. We were not allowed to do things like Nerf guns or airsoft or paintball because it involved shooting at people. But we had 21 guns in our room when we were like young teenagers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so it was an interesting paradox,
Yeah.
But my dad was adamant. We could do water pistols,
Right.
but he preferred that it was not in the shape of a pistol if you were shooting at another person.
Right.
Yeah.
But we shot all the time. And if it was an interesting philosophy that he had,
Yeah.
and how he was very strict on it. And very very, very into gun safety, and I've kept that up my entire life. I love shooting.
That's awesome.
I love shooting and target shooting and sporting clays and
Nice. Cool.
different things like that. But yeah, so he how did we get talking about that? You had asked me.
We just
about,
spun off on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't remember.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
And it's okay.
But yeah, he was
Well,
very involved in that.
knife making.
Yeah.
You said you were collecting.
Oh yeah,
and then,
coal forging.
Yeah.
Yeah,
coal
the coal
forging.
forging,
Yeah.
yeah.
So was very involved in that. It's very unique. There again, we didn't have TVs and we didn't have computers. So we played music. We did a lot of work, and we played sports.
I love that.
And so I don't really know where I got my love for sports. My dad and my brother do not love sports,
Okay.
ball sports,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
football, baseball, and things like that. They could care less about that.
Mhm.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
about shooting and archery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but I guess maybe from my mom, because
Okay.
my mom loves ball sports,
Right on.
team sports.
Yeah.
That's
And I mean, at 70, she can still rip a football. It's crazy.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
she's
fantastic.
great. Yeah, she's great, and she can still catch and throw a baseball
That's
and
cool.
stuff
Yeah.
like that.
That's awesome.
And she did that a lot with me growing up. I did catch. My mom taught me how to catch and throw a baseball and hit a ball.
Awesome.
My dad taught me how to shoot bows and arrows and
There
shoot
you go.
guns and
Yeah.
do that.
Cool.
You
Yeah,
know,
see,
and
that's
so
good,
that
though,
was,
man.
that was an interesting
That's it.
dynamic.
That's the
love
balance of all things, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they were both very supportive, like with that first competition experience.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that story.
I do.
yeah,
really do,
yeah.
man.
So
I
my
just-
dad and my mom were both very supportive.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about it. Anyway,
And I'm sure that, I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna say I appreciate you sharing that, because for the listeners, that's also like something to strive towards.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people, or I hope there's a lot of people listening that aren't in the family state yet.
yeah,
And these are examples I want to give them.
Very
It's not just work your butt off and it doesn't matter about the family, go make that money.
yeah,
It's more of like, figure that out too.
yeah.
And
Oh,
that's-
dude, my dad.
Yeah.
He would have this is completely off the subject of
Yeah,
trees, but very much involved in family. We had a 85 Chevy Blazer,
Okay.
and my dad would work a double shift at a weld shop and come home from Woodbridge to Fredericksburg, which, if there's traffic on 95, was horrendous. And he would come home. We would have the canoe loaded on top of this Blazer, me and my brother. I don't know how we got it up there, but we'd get it up there. We'd tie it down. We'd load everything in the back of this thing, and we'd have it ready to roll
I love this.
when he got home. There's no cell phones, so he didn't know.
Yep.
He was just looking forward to coming home and sitting and just unwinding from a day of being on his feet in 120 degrees, crouched over that welding arc. It's ridiculously hot.
Oh, yeah.
No way, man. He had a couple of dudes that were at home. He had enough time to roll in there, kiss mom, eat something, drink something, and we'd get him in that truck and he'd take us to the river and we'd stay out there till 10:30 at night.
Jeez, man. Wow, dude.
That's what I'm talking about.
And that's devotion. And we did that a lot.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
We did that a lot. And I will never, I will always be indebted to my father.
That's incredible.
And I mean, let me tell you, he would get mad at us, and we caught some boat paddles. My brother more than me, but
so he was more ornery.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
He's pretty ornery.
That's great.
He would completely agree with that. But
that's fantastic.
And I may have needed it, but he caught it. He caught him.
Yeah.
He caught his share of boat paddles. I did as well.
That's great.
But I don't blame my dad for that.
Yeah,
I really don't. And it was just fantastic. And then my mom got the benefit of having an evening off, quiet, exactly.
Right. All the boys are gone. All that testosterone's out of the house for a couple hours. Yeah, man. I see it in my wife's face. And, Mason and I, we work there. He comes home and we're kibitzing about the job and we're loud and because, the machines are running. She's like, shh.
Yeah, it's a quiet space.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So if I can, I wanna draw from that experience with your dad, fathering you to now you're a dad. You've got 3 children. You're running a business.
Yeah.
Again, I think I know the answer, but this is kind of again for the listeners. I mean, this is really unpacking life stuff. And as I always say, look, the tree thing is what brings us together. It's what we have in common, but when you dig beneath the surface, we have a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot more about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did the experience with your dad affect how you balance your business? Because this is a big thing I hear, and I speak to a lot of young people. I'm 32 years in business now. Raised 3 kids. My kids are a little bit older than you guys. 2 of them are out of the house. How has that affected you? Because look, when you're grinding. And I know there's certain times we have to ebb and flow. Like a storm hits, you got to lean in. And the kids know.
Yeah.
There's a storm. Dad's going to be hammering.
Yeah.
That being said, and the fact that we do need to provide, how do you balance the provision of actual bread on the table with the provision of the emotional needs and care of your kids? And how did your dad's presence and role in your life affect how you parent your kids?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a saying that says, it's a great saying, and there's a lot of humor in it. Being self-employed means you get to choose the 80 hours a week you work.
There you go.
And that is like truer words have never been spoken.
Yep.
So there's a lot of talk about life-work balance.
Yep.
I don't really know what that is.
Sure.
I also don't know if I could go to work for another person at this point, because I think some parts of it would be great.
Mm-hmm.
The actual doing of it, showing up and doing the work and helping out, supporting a boss would be, I believe, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But what I mean is leaving work at work. My mind would just be cranking. I would just be thinking all the time about stuff, and I really don't think I could do that anymore. It's been too long. It's been 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've come to where I've just kind of made the choice to enjoy it and enjoy that part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
As far as how do I balance family and meeting, the emotional and needs of children and my wife and all this with work,
mm-hmm.
I don't really know if I can answer that question. You would have to ask them.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, see?
I do my best.
Okay.
I think the intentionality, I try to, you want to make sure that you allocate time So a very important thing for our family is to actually physically eat dinner around a physical table at night.
There you go. Yes.
Very important. The actual symbolism of it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a table. There is a meeting table at which, as my kids get older, and each of us, my wife, each of my children, we've all had our individual days.
Mm-hmm.
We can leave those and come together around this object and have food and visit. And I believe this, you can take this from whatever angle you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that's laid out. The importance of that is laid out in the Bible pretty clearly. And that's the angle that I choose to take it from.
I'm all about it.
Right. So, but I believe that there is lots of other philosophical and directional, direction on the importance of that.
Yep.
Eating together as a family at night.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we choose to, we've tried.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
It really
it's not.
isn't. And you rarely ever feel like it, especially my wife cooks meals.
Yeah.
And she's always been a stay-at-home mom.
Yep.
Early on, when we were discussing whether or not she wanted to go and get a job and which field she wanted to do it in, she just couldn't come. She was just like, it basically came down to, she was like, I cannot rationalize missing my children's first bite of food or first step or first word. So she's like, well, there'll be plenty of time to work on a career after they're up and gone.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to,
Sure.
and over the years, we've talked about it off and on, if you want to do something, and it may or may not be in the tree industry.
Sure.
But my wife would be a very interesting podcast, by the way. That would be a whole other story.
No doubt. Give us a different angle.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. Yeah. But
Yeah.
she was running a household when she was 13 years old.
Wow.
So she has a very unique experience
Yep.
early on. So anyway, so that's one of the ways, I think, to get back to your question was, that's one of the ways we do that. We approach that. Whereas and sometimes I'm not at home at
Sure.
night,
Yep.
and sometimes we have evening gatherings or evening obligations,
Sure.
ball games or whatever
Yeah.
have you. But we try to several times a week
Yep.
to actually meet around the dinner table to discuss days, and that's a huge way to
I
manage. Your to sift through the events of the day. Ask your kids, how was your day? What was the favorite part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? And to just listen to them talk. That's a big one.
Yeah.
The other one is family events, take 4 days and go camping. Huge. It's probably some of my kids' most formative memories have been camping. We were talking about that before the podcast, was just camp until you're just tired of it because of the rain, because it rains every time.
Yeah.
There's going to be a point of meltdown.
Yeah.
Every family event.
Yeah.
The kids are going to have enough. Road trips are a big one.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a really
Yeah.
big one.
No doubt.
But just to be able to sit and talk with them, and to be able to learn your children, to find out about them, spend time with them. I'll take Leighton out in the back, and we have 5 acres, and just take them out, build a fort, sleep in it with the guns or something, and just have a good old fashioned
I love
time
that.
with the dog,
Mm-hmm.
and just build a fire and sleep, and just have cook over that thing and just have a great time.
Cool.
Cutting stuff and cutting firewood, cutting wood for this fort, and build a fort and sleep in it and do the things.
Yeah.
And then with the girls, go out on daddy-daughter dates and things. And I know my time for that is so limited, and I haven't done as many of them as I wanted to at all. But just to be able to hear what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
And then, I think maybe, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Oh, 100%. I don't remember the statistics, but this is years ago. And it was not a religious group that studied this, but it was a group that studied marriages and families and kids sort of going astray or not. And there was a direct correlation to the amount of meals
Yeah.
Like
That
it was
they took
it was a
with the family,
it was a
Yeah.
legitimate study, and we
Yeah.
did the same thing. I know Brooke's probably going to edify this sentiment what you're saying. I mean, to the point where when my kids were running sports, and when you have multiple kids and you have
Yes.
different events,
You're going everywhere.
you got to divide and conquer. You take them here and there. I'll run Mason to baseball, and sometimes we're eating dinner at 9:00 at night. But we made sure we did it, even though it was late.
It's miserable.
You know?
Yeah, and you never feel like cleaning up. You know?
Yeah.
And then the other thing we've gotten into as the kids have gotten a little bigger is just have them clean that kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, and
Did you hear that, Mason?
just
Clean your
like-
kitchen. I just want that on record.
have the kids clean the kitchen.
Yeah.
It is not a pleasant experience. Most of the times it would be easier to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
heck yeah.
Or and most of the time Steph gets stuck with that,
Same with Raina.
I try to get in there and do it with her.
Yep.
If I'm not asleep on the floor somewhere after
Yeah.
work, you
Yeah.
know, and Steph's going to be somewhere rolling her eyes if she's listening to this. But, we've tried, recently to get the kids, all right, guys, let's learn how to do this. Just use your head, figure out how this works and do it. And I think it's really important. We'll see. It all remains to be seen. But I believe in it, and I
do
believe
too.
it'll be an exceptional thing. And then when they're at other people's houses to be able to pitch in and help clean the kitchen. Where does this stuff go? And we grew up largely in the church that we grew up in. It wasn't Amish or Mennonite, but it was a lot of those values, those core values, and it really I think it's important.
Yeah, sure.
So, we don't shy away from anything on this podcast. And I think those of us that are believers know that, like, this is never going to be like a preach situation. But what we try to do is talk about things that work for us.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, okay, you've mentioned your faith a few times. What role does that play in keeping you grounded? Like, if you want to just quickly touch on it.
Yeah.
Because we do talk about, the spiritual things of life. And I was talking to my son this morning, and I actually asked for his forgiveness because I've been a little bit cranky lately, and it's directly related to me not pressing into my walk.
Yeah.
And so I've been real intentional this past 4 or 5 days to just get in prayer and kind of read through the word and just really just try to get back into the disciplines I know that help me to reconnect and get grounded. So if you're okay, just like what does that do for you and how does it work,
So I'm a born again Christian. Essentially the foundation of my faith is that Jesus Christ came and died on the cross and gave himself as a payment for my sin, because I'm powerless to do that on my own.
Amen.
That's essentially the foundation as the Bible articulates it to the best of my understanding. I try to live my life to a few very simple rules. Fidelity to God and to my wife, and to love my children, and to love your neighbor as yourself. I try to pare it down as simply as I can, because I am not what I would call a religious person.
Sure.
I'm really not.
Yeah.
I'm a simple man.
Understood.
And, and I think as far as, and I try never to ram it down people's throat. So I appreciate you asking me about it, and I appreciate the opportunity to share that. Essentially the gospel, as is laid out in the Bible, as simply as I could,
No, it's perfect.
Anyway, so that is, but as far as the way it impacts the way I treat people, so as an employer, essentially all I do, my whole philosophy behind it is treating people the way I would want to be treated. And I remember being an employee and being treated fairly rough.
Sure.
I mean, it was not great 95% of the time with one of my bosses in particular. It was really bad.
Yep. And
I stuck that out for 1.5 years. And a lot of that was due to my foreman. I'd mentioned him earlier, Courtney Soaring. It was just devotion to him. If he wasn't there, I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
So, and just treat people the way you would want to be treated. That's essentially where I get to it, which is a direct quote, love thy neighbor as thyself, and that incidentally is not limited to the Bible. that is found in every religious document in history, whether it be the Quran or any other one.
Yep. Some Easterns.
Yeah. The Buddhists, the Hindus, the whatever. I think pretty much all of them have that in there.
Yeah.
And the problem is that people refuse to do it, and or they lose sight of it. And so life can get pretty simple if you just have that as your primary focus.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not perfect at that at all, right? And it's a daily reminder, and generally day to day, I lose sight of that, and I have to ask forgiveness myself for my family, my wife, my children, my employees. You know, I try to, you know, just try to be as humble as I can in that, and recognize my own fallibility as a person. So then whatever your motivation, mine happens to be for the motivation because of the love that I believe through my faith that Jesus Christ has shown me. That's what motivates me. Now you can live your life in that from any motivation.
Sure.
But I think that's so important. So I think that, you know, in an answer to your question, a kind of a short answer to your question would be kind of the main one. That's how it motivates me.
Perfect.
That's how it impacts my day-to-day contact with people and my day-to-day interaction with clients. Sometimes clients can be unreasonable. My day-to-day impact contact with my employees. Sometimes the weight, generally speaking, my employees are just great. And I think almost without exception. I mean, everybody has their ups and downs.
Sure, of course.
My employees are just great. And if something is off, there's generally a pretty understandable reason. Or if you watch something from the top of a tree, you're like, why are they doing that? If you don't understand what you're looking at, just give it a minute. And the reason will probably come to you. Like, oh, that's why they did that. You know, something that you don't see, some part of the picture you don't see, but don't yell at them. If they're doing something that looks crazy from where you're at, just give it a minute. If they're not getting ready to get hurt, of course. Or hurt somebody else, right? You know, just give it a minute, and the answer will probably come up. Like, oh, that's a good call. You know? You know, but just to have that in your mind, how would I want to be treated in this scenario?
That's a great,
you know, and so it's like, and the work will get done.
Yeah.
You know, the work's gonna get done. And a lot of the times as an employer, you have this massive, not only the job currently, but every other job in the company. And it's like, oh my gosh, man, this is never going to get done.
It can be overwhelming.
And one of my big morning routines, a big thing is just meditation. You know?
Yeah.
And this is very simple. It's not complicated. It's just sitting there, concentrating on breathing for a very few minutes. And it's basically all you're doing is you're focusing on your breathing and you're saying, it's going to be okay. The work is going to get done. Get to work. Focus on your people. You know, just very simple principles like this. And I mean, sometimes if it gets rough out there, that is literally all you're doing. Go to work, focus on your people, focus on the work, and just do your part today. And then you come back home, you get in bed, and you do it over again. And but the thing is you haven't ruined relationships along the way. You haven't gotten hurt. You know, we can take equipment failures, we can take property damage. But everybody's fine. Okay, everybody's good. We can work with this. And so that's kind of, you know, the way my faith has impacted my interaction. You know, it's unfortunately the times that I allow myself to get in the way. And my natural inclinations and may not treat people as well as I should. And, you know, unfortunately, God takes the bad rap for that. And you know, you know, but I you know, it that's the reason why I do what I do. is because, is because of Jesus Christ.
I like it. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Love everything about it. The only thing I would add to that is that I switch it to, which is what you said, but to put it in words to remember, it's a daily practice.
Yes.
And the daily practice, when you're not practicing, is when you get pulled off your center.
Yes, absolutely.
And then when you get pulled off your center, you get in your own way.
Absolutely.
And then when you get in your own way, you're not connected to the faith.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that's so spot on. And that's...
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like for me, like, and this is a little bit hardcore, but it's how I do it. It's like my daily practice is like, I told Paul this how I look at it, but I put myself in a position to be, I am willing to be hung on the cross for everything I say and do, all moments of all day long.
Yeah.
That's how I'm like, that's it. That's just how I do it. So the moment something happens, the first thought is, am I willing to be hung on the cross for it? And the answer is yes, because of Jesus Christ. Like, that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. And right away, I can apologize. Right away, I can go and have a conversation. Right away, I can go into the meditation state. I can, you know what I mean? But
Yes.
if you can't do that, then you're like defensive. Then well, I said this because of that. And and it snowballs into this big thing. So that's it. That's why I love the daily practice, but it's actually moment to moment practice as well.
No doubt. I'll share a really cool story, man, that a pastor friend of mine shared with me. And it just, because sometimes that creep or that drift is insidious. So he says, okay, he was going sailing with a friend on a lake. And he's like, so we're sitting there, we climb in the sailboat, and my friend unropes it from the moorings, and we're sitting like this, and we're having a conversation. And he says, he's explaining to me what the process will be like. Okay, we'll this, we'll that, we'll hoist the sail. When I say ready about, it means this. When I say this, it does that. He's like, probably a 20-minute conversation. And then he's like, and then we'll shove off. He goes, and I look, and we're like 20 yards from the dock.
Drift.
Drift, yeah.
Sail wasn't up. It just was the natural kind of, and so if we're not intentional about that reconnection, and what's weird is I do devos, like in my journal, literally every day, coffee, devos, meditate, scripture, like I write it out so that I can, it's just a prompt for me, and I do it. And then some days I think it's almost a little too by rote. It's like, am I really connecting?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Am I really being quiet and still and allowing that spiritual voice, the Holy Spirit to kind of like speak into my life, work through me? And am I really connecting, or am I just doing a process?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's where that drift comes in. So,
and in the process, though, the routine is very important.
Sure.
This is on anything in life. Like if an airliner takes off from San Francisco and it adjusts 3 degrees aimed at New York, it'll end up in DC, and it's like, I think those numbers may be off, but that is essentially there. That is, I believe that's right. If it's 3 degree adjustment at San Francisco will pull you down so far off course. And so those micro adjustments, those routines it's like doing push-ups, in the morning, or sit-ups or small exercises in the morning. If you do those consistently, and this is where consistency is such a huge deal. It is, if you do those consistently, it will have a massive impact on where you end up.
Yeah.
And like this kind of gets back to the kind of employer that I strive to be, is just be consistent. Yeah. Make it to where your guys have a steady, predictable environment to show up in.
Nice.
And I think the responsibility with the way the day ends up starts with the way you show up in the morning.
Mm.
And if I can be a consistent person every day, I try to greet my guys in the same way every morning.
Mm.
And I'm pretty consistent at that.
Yeah.
And I just try to be, I try to be happy. I don't try to be like super happy,
Right.
but just regular happy, you know, like, you know, a good, like, good morning, you know, or something like that, you know.
They come
and
in, James is all, hey, everybody. They're like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah,
exactly.
No, you don't want to be cheesy.
Yeah,
but just
exactly.
normal, a normal, decent way to greet somebody in the morning that you can replicate.
Sure.
Yeah, which
know?
which would be what you're doing, because you say you treat others the way you want to be treated. You want to be treated. You want to be greeted the same way.
Yeah, and
You
a
know
lot
what I
of
mean?
that stemmed off of an experience that I had with my first boss, which was like you never knew what you were going to get.
Yeah,
and
that's
that was
just
terrible.
Yeah,
it was really unsettling.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of to answer that question.
And it's honestly, it's a great reminder, and I'm making mental notes because I can be a little more on the volatile side where, you know, things, I sometimes things stack up and I allow it to affect that process. And I have to sort of like recenter and dial myself back. I think as I've aged, whatever, I've gotten a lot better and more self-aware to dial in and just be like, okay, dude, like, and it's weird. And maybe you have this experience, maybe you don't, but sometimes if I haven't been out on the team for a while, I'm estimating more. Like I was more consistent back because we were short on help. So I was plugging in and I was, you know, feeling myself or whatever. And then I went a few weeks. So Wednesday I go out with the crew and I'm amped.
Yeah.
Like what I want to do is I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
I just want to put stuff on the ground.
Yeah.
And so and my kid's like looking at me and I'm like, we had a conversation about it and he's a little more
like, Dad, you're a guest here.
By nature,
point, you're a guest here.
And by nature, he's a little more chill by nature than I am. So he's operating at this frequency and he's like looking at me and I'm like, I just want to put some stuff on, like, you know.
Yeah,
and
no,
he's
you
like,
can't do that.
And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I need to step into their flow. Like I really need to just.
You're a guest at this point.
And he told me, he's like,
true.
why don't you, he was so wise at 20. He goes, why don't you just, if you want to operate in, I forget what he said, like La La Land over there and go put those on the ground. He goes, I'll go over to whatever it was, Romper Room, and I'll do these. And I'm like, cool. So we just split tasks.
We need to be separated right now.
But it was, and there was no animosity, but I was at the point I realized I was probably not helping. It wasn't a bad attitude.
Right.
It was just, I had the old man pent up, get the job done, Gen X like vibe.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't really effective for them.
I just look at it as energy. You had a certain energy that didn't fit the energy they already had going, which is
they're
what
in
you're
a
saying.
routine,
100%.
and you're a strange factor here. You're an X factor, and they're sitting there watching you like, what are you
What
doing?
is up with this dude?
Yeah, what are you doing? You're a guest. It is, as an employer, as an owner-operator, it is very difficult to come to grips with the fact that you are a guest at your own party.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, I'll do it with the guys. I try to be very, very proactive in saying like, okay, I'm going to be on the crew today until like noon. And then I've got to go run some estimates, or I'm going to go run an estimate in the morning and then I'll be on the crew. And then I try to be very proactive in also building the expectation like, hey, I don't need to climb today. I'll just go ahead and stop by for a few minutes and try to clean the ground up. Or something like that.
Sure.
Just try to lay out, like predetermine what my role on the job site will be. Because they're in a routine. Especially if it's a job that's multiple days. You don't want to just put a stick in the spoke of everything. So that's 100%. Kind of the way I've approached that in the past is like, all right, I really want to be a helpful impact here. Is there like a tree? Sometimes it is off to the side. Is there like a tree out there I can go blow the stuff out of? And then that way it'll take one more thing off y'all's plate. And try to approach it from like, all right, I'm very much in a support role here. Whereas if I go to the job site, do the job site safety and scope briefing, and then everybody knows James is here for the day. So I just take the lead role in it. And Brian and I have worked, at least from my perspective, over the years really well that way. And he has this ability to just adapt to anything. You know, so it's, you know, we've kind of gotten that ability to work off of each other, and there again, it's just, I approach it from the standpoint of just, I love being on the crew. You know, I love pruning trees, man. That's cool. Just what I love to do.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
That's the perfect segue. And if it's cool, like
Yeah.
I want to jump in and let the listeners know, but also I do enjoy your expounding on the SRS, MRS, the science of everything, and how this is your open platform to just
get into the
glad
technical aspect of it.
I'm glad. And if I can just
get
prime the pump just a tiny bit,
go for it,
you know, obviously being an old climber, whatever, you know, moving rope was all we knew. And then there was an evolutionary process, whatever, and we got better and better at moving rope. And then single stationary rope came in. See, I even use old terms. Anyway.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so, you know, there's a point when I'm like, you know, am I behind? Am I, you know, this and that? And, you know, obviously I use it as a tool, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought to myself, if I don't adopt this, because a lot of guys were, and I just found myself, and I'm like, man, am I going back to this because it's what's comfortable? So I'm navigating this in terms of my own ability to be curious and adapt new things, or am I falling back to what's comfortable? And so for myself, I've found where each one works and when it works and when I can make application of both. And then seeing someone like James, and I've heard, you know, quite a bit, you know, using moving rope, et cetera. And then at Pendle, I watch you climb the work climb, and then I think you ran the master's tree maybe to get a time thing or to kind of like time make trial. Sure the station I was watching, you were on moving rope, and for the last two stations,
first two was
running. So you went up and anyway, so I was like, you know, it just I don't know, makes me feel better about myself in a way, but it's like this is not something that a person needs to put away.
No, it's not.
No.
So,
yeah. All right. So, stationary rope versus moving rope.
Mm-hmm.
When I started out in tree work, we just had the moving rope system with the Blake knot closed system.
Mm-hmm.
My first competition that I participated in was 2004. Michael Cotter always used the taut line hitch with no tender pulley under it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might have gotten brave enough to put a tending pulley under it. But it was just the bronze snap with the little purple CMI slack tender pulley. That was great. It was bomber.
Yep.
I could still rip a tree up with one of those setups.
Yep.
Yeah.
So moving through the early 2000s, what I figured out that was that, and we were footlocking, you know, doing a lot of footlock, pretty much exclusively up until maybe 2008. And then I've started frog walking quite a lot on single line. But you couldn't go down with ascenders. You're tied into two different ascender cams.
Yep.
And in the late 2000s. And just frog walking it. And it really made it a good variety.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2004, the lead climbers, the most advanced climbers were climbing on like the blue streaks or the safety blues with 10X. Ionize tied in the distals or the Valdetane Tress knot with that same pulley, the CMI micro under it. So this was like a variation of a split tail, but it didn't have any sit back. So it was really kind of interesting.
Yep.
I kind of always liked the sit back that you had in a Blake knot. It was kind of like driving a truck with suspension for me. But what I would notice was Hurricane Isabel came along in September of 2003, and so pine trees would have different storm damage limbs in them, and we'd chuck ropes through the pine trees and footlock up beside the canopy, pull the pine tree limb out, and then just go down, or the hanger or whatever have you. We'd go down with figure eight and a prusik.
Yep.
What I figured out was that you could just add a couple of wraps on a Blake knot and just climb on a single rope with a split tail.
Gotcha.
And, you know, it was kind of bomber.
Yeah.
I would not recommend trying it, but it wasn't great, but it still got it to where you didn't have to isolate the rope. You didn't have to put in a friction saver.
The other couple wraps were just to dispel more friction.
Yeah, just to add more friction.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Dispel the heat and the forces and all that. It was still really rough.
Yep.
It wasn't anything that was awesome.
Yeah.
And if you really wanted to, you could put the figure eight on under it and crack it loose and go down.
Yep.
So we were doing that in the early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
and to get storm damage out of trees because it was really fast. And so 2000 from 99 to 2013, I climbed moving rope and didn't even know it was moving rope. It was just the only option.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then in like 2012, somewhere in there, Kevin Bingham brought the wooden rope wrench to the TCI Expo. And I think Derek talked a lot about this process in your podcast.
100%.
So I was at that expo and saw the wooden rope wrench and was interested in it, but not really. I mean, it didn't really get my attention too much. I was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing anything like Kevin was doing as far as work positioning on a stationary rope,
Mm-hmm.
but I was doing it, and so it was on a very limited basis.
Sure.
So it didn't really get my attention as something like sliding that thing onto the end of the rope. You'd have to have a whole new system to bounce back and forth between your main climbing systems and that and all this. So it didn't really get my attention terribly. But then he came out with the ZK1, and my guy Brian Campbell wanted to buy one. So he bought one. And I tried it a couple of times. Well, body thrust, you know, grabbing the rope and pulling yourself up in the traditional moving rope was miserable.
Yes.
And I was like, this is crazy.
Yes.
So, and then the ZK1 was, you know, had the soft tether and whatever, and it was interesting. You remember that picture on Tree Buzz years ago where Kevin actually took the box end wrench and applied it to his system as a stiff tether when the subject of a stiff tether came out?
Yeah.
So that came out, and then the ZK2 or whatever it was, the wrench as we know it today, came out. And I won it at the Pennsylvania-Delaware chapter in 2013.
Okay.
I won that rope wrench. I won a rope wrench there with a stiff tether, and it was the first one I'd ever owned. So I was talking to Rich Hattier. Do you know Rich Hattier?
The name I know very well.
Rich Hattier is like the godfather of splicing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, well, I guess maybe Stanley Longstaff is the godfather of splicing, but Rich Hattier certainly is, of my generation, the godfather of splicing. But Rich told me to climb stationary rope for 1 month just to get used to it. And don't try moving rope at all. Just do it for 1 month, total immersion. I was like, okay, no problem. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I was like, well, dude, I'll never do moving rope again. And so I was climbing with the, basically the same hitch-based system. It was very intuitive.
Yep.
But it was also intuitive to be able to throw the rope ends out through far redirects. You see it happening a little bit more these days, but with like pre-feeding the redirect. So you'd pop off the rope wrench system and then pull the rope over into the union. So basically like a pre-feed. Yeah. It's super intuitive stuff, and you could do stuff that you wouldn't be able to ordinarily do with a moving rope.
Yep.
And so I started doing this all through 2013, 14, 15. And then I started getting into these situations where it was I'd use the tail of my rope in a moving rope configuration as a double crotch, right? Because a lot of the times we're out on these limb ends that are really long and flat. Yeah. So I'd started to get into these situations. And man, I discovered that I really loved it. Yeah. And I didn't know why, but I just really, really loved it. So then I started drifting back to what I was familiar with and back to kind of my roots. And I was a couple years in at this point. But I also noticed that when you were up in the top of the tree, the top quarter of the tree where your rope angle was mostly flat all the time, which never, ever bothered me. I mean, now I call it rope angle fever. We're kind of in this segment of history in our climbing competition world where people have like rope angle fever, where everything everything that's below 45 degrees will instantly kill you. Right. And I'm sorry, I don't believe that's super practical, right? So, and flat rope angles never really bothered me much, but I do recognize that there's the danger lies. And if you do lose track of your position at that point, depending on the distance you are from the anchor point, you can build up a great deal of momentum on impact.
Of course. Yep.
That's what makes it dangerous.
Yes.
But as long as you're confident enough and there's lots of stuff around and there's limbs and stuff to catch you, your swing is impossible to generate momentum. And so that's what I started noticing about the stationary rope system was it was very hard. It was very difficult to climb at very flat rope angles, which if you're reducing the top of a tree, if you're thinning the top of a tree, you're pruning it, that's where you spend your time at. It's the most difficult part. It's the one you want to get right is that part of the climb.
Yeah.
So what I noticed was that, man, I really favored mechanical advantage of that moving rope system.
Mm-hmm.
And 2008 was my first international comp. Was the first time I won that was my first Mid-Atlantic win. So I went to 2008 International in St. Louis, Missouri, and got to the privilege of watching Bernd Strasser climb for the first time live.
Yeah, buddy.
And he's to me is the grandmaster. He'll probably always be that.
Yeah.
He is the grandmaster.
Wins, I mean.
Yeah, I mean it's you don't do that by accident.
No.
But just to watch him in a tree, I got to watch him in a tree. He followed me. He got to do everything after me, which was very humiliating. It was not humiliating. It was humbling.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed that very much.
Yeah.
Because in Mid-Atlantic, it's really funny to watch first-time international competitors. They are the top dog in their chapter. And it's really fun because you get to see their local contingent come out and support them. I love that.
Yep.
But they're lost at international. It's very large and there's lots of waiting. You don't know anybody. And it's a really interesting thing. But by the end of the weekend, you follow up with them and pick their brain, and they're completely addicted. And I love that. So I went there to 2008 and watched Bernd Strasser climb, Mark Chisholm climb, Jared Abergina, Scotty Forrest. Those were the four Masters Challenge contestants. But watching Bettis do everything right after I did it was amazing. It was very instructive, and I got some very fundamental, and this was before I started climbing stationary, right? This was before it hit mainstream. Yeah. So, but that very fundamental movement foundation. So fast forward 5 years or so, and I'm climbing single rope, and a lot of this stuff is really difficult for me to try to duplicate, those movement patterns. And a lot of that is, if you're climbing on a rope wrench with a smaller hitch, 8mm cord, say 3-2 VT or an XT, a lot of that friction will simulate natural crotch moving rope. That is essentially what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're on a flat rope angle, it's kind of hard to go away from the anchor point unless you collapse the wrench on top of the hitch. So, and that's been resolved, a lot of these by the cams, because now with a rope runner, you can collapse it to zero, no problem, and free ball that thing, depending on the fair lead. But I think mainly where I'm going with this is that there's movement patterns in a tree canopy that are very hard to duplicate on single rope. And now with cams, you get, like say with the Rope Runner Pro, the margin of dead stop to wide open is very narrow. I like that margin to be wider. With the rope wrench, it's very wide of dead stop. When you were dead stopped on the rope to wide open, that margin of friction is very wide.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Now, is that because of micro adjustments?
It's because of micro adjustments in the, no, that's because of the friction dead stop line. The dead minimal friction is never at zero.
Right.
It is at zero with the Rope Runner Pro.
Right. What I meant was because I think I'm picking up on, I just want to make sure when I'm moving and that's a wider space, I have a lot more.
Yes. Okay. Yes. That is because of those micro adjustments.
Yeah. It's like I have a lot more range.
Yeah. So in moving rope, it's never at dead nut zero either, but it's theoretical zero. essentially, depending on the efficiency of the pulley at the anchor point and the efficiency of your fair lead. The combination, those are two very important things when you're climbing moving rope, because moving rope is a friction game. Your efficiency of your pulley at your anchor point, for me, is a bushing pulley. It's the Pinto, because I use a hitch. If I use a bearing pulley up there at 90% efficiency, plus or minus, it puts too much friction on the hitch. Too much weight of my body weight is transferred to the hitch, and it'll burn it and lock it up. So the guys that are climbing with zigzags and such like that, ART spider jacks and things, they're climbing with bearings up top, because your friction at the device is not so important. You know, you can handle the heat. The more important friction point for me is the fair lead pulley in the hitch climber, which is a bearing. And that fair lead pulley is all important. So when you peg that, say in that Pendel climb, in that video, you know, it was a jump, you spin and run. What you're doing essentially, not necessarily on that particular move, you are pegging out the hitch to almost zero, but you're using the friction generated at the anchor point and at the fair lead to create this sensation of levitation, jumping away from the anchor point. Those friction points are gone on a stationary rope system with a Rope Runner Pro. So the micro adjustments in the hand that is tending that slack has to be extremely precise. And it is ridiculously difficult to obtain that appearance of levitation. Long stride sprinting away from the anchor point. So that ties into what I was saying earlier about watching Bettis. Bettis was the master of that. That sprinting
Floating.
away from it. Yes, that sensation of floating, as near as I can tell, and this may not be a great explanation of it, but as near as I can narrow it down, this is one of the reasons that this is one of the ways you achieve that. If you notice, the high quality movement these days that is being done on a Rope Runner Pro, very quick steps. The steps are rarely ever really long, very quick steps. And I think a lot of that is because that margin, it's very hard to just bounce away from the anchor point along a branch and actually long jump run. And I mean, to me, and a lot of that subjective stuff, and it's judged subjectively by comp judges. You know, I lose that. For me personally, I'm not good at duplicating that. Oddly enough, on the Vertec was a huge piece of equipment for me to get my hands on, because with the bollard, that broadens that level of of margin between dead stop and full free ball. You know, so the Vertec for me is extremely intuitive device, and it's very quick on and off. So, you know, that's been a great tool. But I think to answer the question, that was a very long answer, but to put it in a nutshell and condense it, I try not to think of it as single rope versus moving rope for my personal repertoire climbing. It's single rope and moving rope, you know, or stationary rope and moving rope. It was a tool. It was always a tool that I just
100%.
added to the bag.
Yep.
And I think, you know, we're in a really interesting time period in history now with climbing techniques where you have a tool that was designed primarily as a moving rope tool. The twin line is being incorporated into single rope, mainly to remove friction in rope retrieval as an anchor point that's very quickly deployable and then generates very little friction when on retrieval. So you can add redirects into the system. I started using a twin line in maybe 2015.
Twin line, I'm not familiar with that.
The ART twin line is a device. It's an anchor point.
Okay.
It's ingenious is what it is.
Okay.
It's absolutely genius. As a moving rope and a single rope device, but as a single rope device, it's gotten more popularity. It took like it was wild. It took like an 8-year break. And then the Australian climbers brought it back as a single rope anchor point.
Yeah, so real quick, just to clarify, so basically it's the anchor point that you can have both systems attached to it, right?
Yeah.
Like when you pull it up in a tree, you have both available, and then the retrieval, when you're done doing whatever you do in the trees, you can retrieve it from that point with redirects as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's ingenious.
Wow.
It's a cam. It's basically a way to install a high efficiency pulley on a canopy anchor
Okay.
remotely.
Interesting.
Which in moving rope, that was a tool. I mean, I own our company owns I don't know, 6 of them.
There you go.
And I have one. I've had it in my bag for 10 years.
Wow.
But it's for that one scenario. I tried to use it a lot as a moving rope anchor point, but I figured out that it's mainly deployable most conveniently as a traditional rope guide. And I have several employees that use it as a traditional rope guide.
Yeah.
And then I have 2 guys that use the 2010 version of the rope guide with the big metal ring all the time.
Yeah,
they love it.
I have an original. I have 2.
Yeah.
One's an original and I remember when I bought that thing, like when it came out, I thought I'd
they were crazy.
like spar tie-offs and just that whole camming action. I'm like, this is genius, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the involvement of that into being integrated into single rope has been huge. And so we're in a really interesting time. For me, the avenue that I've choose to pursue is trying to integrate single rope into my repertoire and just try to blend single rope and moving rope systems and see how that can be done.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I've been doing. But what you see me do in a moving ropes in a Masters Challenge scenario, when you watch me do a Masters, that is the way that I work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hoist the moving rope system up into the tree with the access line, and I'll hit maybe half the tree on the way up with the single rope.
Yep.
Or if there's another tree that I can redirect in above and go down into the second tree,
Yep.
hit it right on the stationary rope, the single rope. But that is what you're getting is a genuine representation of the way I work.
Yep.
And that I don't know. I can't speak for the other competitors. I assume that it follows pretty closely, depending on the tree. But I think a lot of the times, you can rope advance with the twin line, but sometimes it's a little easier to just kind of leave the access line there and go up with a separate friction saver.
Yeah.
And then just pull the friction saver down, whether it's moving rope or single rope. For me, I love the mechanical advantage for micro body positioning adjustments. And this is kind of gets back to the original question of moving rope versus single and why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Single rope for me is really good if the rope angle is pretty friendly. So lower canopy stuff, mid canopy stuff, but rarely upper canopy stuff. And then basically stationary rope or single rope climbing makes it easier to go up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like it's faster to go up because I'll rope walk with my ascenders on a moving rope system, no problem. It just takes twice the strides, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't take actually a really long time. Now, you do also walking in long limbs, you have half the rope to tend. That's a huge impact in like speed of like the work climb. So there is advantages and disadvantages to both. I try to incorporate a wide variety in my everyday work. Primarily, I will default to moving rope, but going up, I use the Vertec every single climb. Every single one. I generally, what I typically do is leave the Vertec on the access line once I have reached the top of the tree. Then I move the anchor point around the tree, just tie in with the lanyard, and move the lanyard before I commit to it. You move it down to your lower D rings and it's your suspension rings or the bridge of your harness, and then suspend in it, move your anchor point over, and then away you go. So yeah, that's more or less my thoughts on moving rope versus single rope.
Mhm.
It is, I prefer the mechanical advantage. I prefer the micro adjustments. I don't actually enjoy climbing single rope all that much, because when you, like an instance, when you're out on a branch and you reach back and pull, you got one strand of rope and all the force is coming to bear on your shoulder and your harness bridge slacks. I enjoy reaching back, pulling, and then lifting, that sensation of that harness bridge lifting.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Oh, you're not.
No,
Yeah,
seriously,
you're not
because
the
that
only
was a
one.
big
Yeah.
thing. I remember the first few trees I climbed.
Yeah.
Same thing. I was on a limb walk and I went to take a step and pull.
Yeah.
And I step and pull and it just felt foreign. And then I'm
Yes.
like, okay, is this comfort and going back to what, like what feels safe?
Yeah.
Am I like, navigating that in my head? And I keep coming back to moving rope for those reasons. So it's nice to see someone that committed to the stationary for a while and then kind of came back and was like, no, these are the advantages. And it jives with what I've found.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
it's edifying in a sense, if that makes sense.
Sometimes I'm on
totally.
stationary rope for 90% of a week. I might go for a week without ever touching a moving rope system.
Sure.
It depends on what you're doing.
Mhm.
A lot of the times, if we do vista prunes along the river,
Yeah.
and you're working a lot on the bottom section of the tree, but you're going up and down a lot, that is money on single rope.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
And so, but the other thing too that has been a big impact on the stationary rope style is with the Rope Runner Pro is to the ability to pony over, to pony out of a redirect or into a redirect, because the device can easily be taken on and off the system.
Sure.
That's huge, and it's a huge advantage from a rope wrench. I never shied away from popping that thing off, the rope wrench off, but in a competition, it takes forever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of parts that you can drop. So
No
the
doubt.
Vertec for me is huge on that.
Yeah.
And so there again, like the Australian climbers, they're exploring like pre-feeds and ponies a lot, and this is all stuff that, for me, it's not new.
Sure.
But it's because I practiced it a lot, because it was just a tool. It was a gap that was filled.
Yeah.
It was just an option that I had. I was like, oh, sweet, this is going to make that really easy.
Mm-hmm.
But it would never replace anything.
Yep.
A lot of it, sometimes it's kind of a shame that it came along when it did, because when it did come along in the late 2000s, 2010s, the Tree Imagineers were doing their thing. The Tree Motion had just come out. The Tree Imagineers were developing like the Pinto pulley and a lot of different things, the rope guide. I think it's a little bit unfortunate that it came out when it did, because I believe we were on the cusp of some really interesting moving rope stuff. But then it was like a mass distraction. Everybody dropped it and ran. I get it. I understand. A lot of the time, single rope's simpler.
Yep.
But if you actually look at why people do it, it is kind of hard to articulate why they do it, or why I climb double rope. It's a little hard to articulate sometimes. But the advantages of stationary rope, if you sit down and actually write them out, are they actually advantages? How many of them are there? And I just, I try to encourage people to do that. Each climber, but most of the times it is kind of funny, because you watch guys climb stationary rope, and in the States, predominantly, it is basal anchor. We're climbing off of basal anchors, which has its pros and cons.
Sure.
And I think if you're working in different environments, it can be more dangerous than others.
Agreed.
But it's such a basic way of climbing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the equivalent of climbing on a natural crotch with a Blake knot closed. It's like there's so many more options you have here.
Yeah.
Right? So, but it's easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And retrieving a basal anchored system is really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why guys do it. But also, you see the way they climbed moving rope, or you get it described to you, and you're like, oh, no wonder why you went to single rope so fast. You know,
Yeah.
I would have bailed from that system too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
I was gonna add because I came from the background of taut line 7 years, so, natural crouch. So I have that background. So
Yeah.
when I got into it, but like now my son is 10 and he's obsessed with climbing, and what's what I'm looking for? It's an easier access to climb a tree on single.
Yeah.
Because of the ascenders, this and that.
Yes.
But now I'm switching to more like moving through the tree.
Yes.
Right, going up and down. Which the best. If you go set this up hip thrust,
Yeah. Sure.
people are gonna have a miserable time doing it.
Yeah.
They're just like whatever. But go up this rope with ascenders, no problem, right? So I think it's an easy access to the industry or the tree climbing, and then people are trying the best they can to do tree work with the little limited knowledge they have of the moving space.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's why it exploded in popularity, because now everybody can get up in a tree. Everybody can make some money. But when we get into the art of pruning and tree biology and everything else, and you really want to move through it, and I'm not knocking anybody that's listening, but if we're being real, I feel like a lot of those people are really taking shortcuts and just cutting things off because they can't get somewhere.
Big gaps in the knowledge.
And then the second part is when you do get to moving rope or start with the moving rope, you have the biomechanics of that space, how your body moves, mechanical advantage, but even like only half a pole, it's just a whole different art to it.
Yeah.
That is more beneficial for you as a body and the space that you're moving in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is contingent on your natural inclination as well. There are certainly climbers that, and this is an opinion. Okay, I want to be very clear that what I'm saying on this subject is absolutely my opinion. Right?
Sure.
This is not something that I believe is a hard and fast rule.
Yeah.
This is just my view on it, because there's a lot of climbers out there that are awesome climbers. And they're like, well, that's not the way I see it, and this is why, you know. And it's they have the ability to back it up.
Valid.
Yeah, it's as valid. So, it's one of those things where I think I just try to encourage climbers just to have some variety, and to make sure at least that you're able to articulate, if nothing else, to yourself why it is you're doing what you're doing.
Sure.
I think that self-awareness is such a good thing with so many things in our lives. Like just to stop and hit that pause button and go, why am I doing this?
Yeah, why am I doing
that
this?
is such a good question to ask about so many different things.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's like I said, I would say people get pigeonhole themselves into, I'm this, I'm that. I'm this, and I'm like,
don't do that.
Don't do that. Like, there's a toolbox. We have many different tools for many different situations.
Yeah,
that is the biggest thing. When I again, it's a cliche at this point when we say, the more tools you have, it's about increasing our capacity for what we can do. It's I think about a gear bag that I have that I do like tree risk assessments for, and there's so many different things in there. And there's tools that just lay in there that I have, and then once in a while I get out and I'm like, ooh, I need this. I need this chisel, or my Speedline kit. It hangs. I usually have it like it's stored in my bucket truck or in my gear bag.
Yeah,
I might use it 2 times a year.
Yeah,
but boy, when you're in a situation where you want to use it, you're rooting through the truck or your bag looking for that thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just nice to have it, know how to use it, and know why and when. And have that tool available to you. Like, you think about actual tools, like an adjustable wrench can do a lot, but it's not the best for a lot.
Right.
So it's better to have a set of wrenches, right? And
have a set of things, have a set of tools. Now, really, really capable single ropers are almost exclusively single rope.
Yep.
And I am a proponent of finding a default style and approaching every climb from a default position, whether it be moving or stationary.
I like that. Okay.
And then as the options occur to you, branch off from there. But nice. I do very much approach every climb from a default process.
Cool.
Single up, double down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we spend so much time reducing weight on the end of long, flat branches that I think, and Brian and I talk about this a lot, the work type, the work style that you're doing shapes the climbing style you choose to employ. So it's, a lot of, I don't think there's too many guys that are doing the work that we're doing. I think primarily a lot of guys are doing removals and target major deadwood prunes, where we're doing 1-inch crown cleans and way out on the ends of the branches with handsaw cuts.
Yeah, that's a lot of what we do
Not
too. I
too
think we're
many
one of the
guys are doing it.
We're one of the only ones in our area that do any type of, I don't know if you want to call it end weight reduction or retrenchment work, or things like and I spec it that way to the client.
Yeah, very small cuts.
No. Most cuts will range from inch to 1.5 with an occasional 2-inch cut. Yeah. Not to exceed 2-inch cut,
right.
Yeah. And so the client knows, and they're like, I thought you were going to, it's like, well.
No, the tree is going to remain the same size and shape.
Correct.
Yeah, that's very
When
important.
they start doing this.
Yes, right. No, that's it. We want to get away from that.
Please tell me what your goal is.
Yeah, that's
well,
right.
I want it to be, and I'm like, well, we kind of don't do this.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you'll allow me to do the arboriculturally proper thing, I think you'll be thrilled, unless you're just somebody that wants a green meatball, and we don't do green meatballs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah. Just be straightforward with it.
100%. And I tell him, I'm like, look, I'd rather we set one guy the other week. It was a very, we kept kind of going around, and he kept doing the hand thing and saying, I just want it smaller.
Oh, and,
and it was a Norway, and it was a good size, like 32-inch plus Norway. So the species, how it's like big expanses of limb with little foliage.
Yes.
And
very
I'm
hard
like,
to reduce.
Yeah. And I'm like, listen, I can, the one branch over your pole barn, I can make a branch collar cut at point of origin. It's a little bigger than I like, but at least we can do that. Everything else should be way out on the ends. And I mean, literally like 3/4-inch handsaw cuts. And he was and I said, listen, I'd rather have this conversation up front now before money exchanges hands.
Right.
And even if we decide not to work together, no money exchange hands.
Right.
Then you think you're getting X and I give you Y, and now you're mad at me, and I'm trying to get paid, and
exactly.
It's unpleasant.
Yeah.
So let's be kind of adult males, and we'll settle this up front. And so he went for it. So we'll see when we're done if he's happy. But
right. Okay.
I really walked him through everything,
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that work style is what drives a lot of climber styles and choices.
Yeah.
Because I get it a lot. People will walk up to me at comps and say, "Man, I felt really bad about not getting on single rope systems. I just feel like I'm getting left behind. I'm still on moving rope." And I'm like, dude, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage you to go explore single rope systems,
but
don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Or I've had people tell me like, well, I don't want to compete because I really haven't integrated into the single rope realm, and I really, I should. So you carry this impression that you should climb single rope in order to compete.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad at all.
That's good advice.
You don't have to, but you also, be there, show up, learn. If you're like, well, hey, this stationary rope is what I really want to do it.
Yeah.
It's a tree climbing technique. Do it.
Yep.
Learn it well. Learn the pluses and the minuses. Learn the ropes and the devices. Everybody knows the impact Kevin Bingham's had on the industry, and that cannot be overstated.
Yep.
So it's just remarkable. There's those guys in every industry that before them it was one way and after them it was another, and Kevin's that guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Bernd
Strasser is that guy with the harnesses and the pitch climber system. Before him, harnesses were designed one way, and after him, they were designed another.
Yeah, sure.
But you get that with anything. Archery, it's recurves and longbows and compounds. You get surfing, it's long borders versus short borders. I was shocked when I'm like, you have amateur surfers, and then you have me, and it's like, so I'm not a serious surfer, but I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, below novice level.
Sure.
So I'm not in any way skilled at this at all, but I love it. And I think it's beautiful. It's just really neat to be able to ride a wave in that natural motion.
No
and
doubt.
It's not unlike riding tree branches,
That's cool.
So that kind of movement, that stance, that flow that they have,
man.
it's just they're not moving their legs. They're not walking. They're just, the wave is carrying them.
Yep.
But I was shocked when I was reading some comments on a post that these dudes were making on longboards, and it came up. I just picked up this one comment like, wow, not bad for a longboarder. And I was like, what? I was like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. And then the short boarders and the long boarders, battle lines were drawn, and they started hurling salvos over the theoretical wall. And it was just, I was like, wow, it is in everything.
It's in everything. We see it in, so I've been doing martial arts a long time, multiple styles, multiple disciplines. I have experience in so many different things. And I've moved into Chinese stuff and like some of the, like the Wing Chun guys. And it's just like, yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the most effective. And it's just like, I don't even want to participate in it.
No, it's so limiting.
It is.
It's so limiting, And so it's like, I don't know. I really don't know what to say about it to people in comps.
Yeah.
But I do want to give an accurate representation of the way I work.
Yeah.
And, I feel like I do. And I think a lot of it is getting to where you master whatever technique you choose.
Yeah.
And that's more important than the actual technique.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
That was perfect.
That was a nail right there.
Yeah, that was a nail. Which is going to be one of my questions, but like you just said, like mastering where you're at, essentially, right? Which drive, if you don't mind, in competition, what is the thing that as Jeff Inman always says, like, what's your why for competitions? And obviously you want to do good, you want to be champion, but like, what's driving you?
Yeah. So that's the question. That's a specific question you have, is like, what motivates me to compete?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So, there's an entire book written on this called Find Your Why.
Yeah.
Simon
Sinek.
Yeah. Okay. It was that Simon Sinek that wrote that book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a multi-bazillion dollar industry centered around finding the purpose of why you're doing stuff, whatever you're doing, finding the purpose of why you do it. Why Ben does what he does, why you do what you do,
Sure.
Why you even bother running tree awareness, so, that has to be answered by anyone who wants to be great at something.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not going to try to be great at something, you'll never have to answer that question.
Wow.
You know, that's the nugget.
If you just want to pass, you'll never have to answer that. Because all you've got to do is just get to where you can do a passing grade and then float. And that's easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot of character. So, in finding the why of something, if you're going to try to excel at anything, it's going to take a lot of character development. You are going to be disappointed. You're going to be shattered. And so if you're going to take the competitions, for one, you have to try to figure out how far you want to go. If you want to go all the way and to try to, if it becomes a goal to win a world championship or anything like that, whatever your goal may be, to participate in an international, that may be one of your goals, to be a chapter champion. And that may be as far as you want to go. To participate in an international master challenge, that may be a goal. To win a certain preliminary event, be it the rescue or the work climb or something like that, that may be a goal. You can have multiple goals, but if depending on the level at which you want to compete at, you will experience pain. And you are going to have to identify the why. Why are you motivated to do this? What is motivating you? If it is just winning, I'll spoil it right now for you. It is as hollow as heck. It is the most hollow feeling. It's great. It's really fun. There's no feeling like it, but it doesn't last. The buzz does not last. And I've experienced every high and every low that the game can offer. And they are some really high highs and some really low lows. Had an experience at International in 22 in Copenhagen that pretty much forced me to a point to where I almost quit. And it basically forced me to find out exactly why. And I thought I knew why.
Sure.
I mean, I was already an international champion. I mean, that was the first time I really, really explored it was after I won the international in 2015, 10 years ago. I went into a tailspin. I was going to stop doing tree work. I was talking about selling everything, going to work for the Maryland Parks because I had lost my motivation. What more could I do? I was done.
So like that was the goal you had set. You achieved it and you're like, I'm done now.
There was nothing else to do.
Wow.
I had achieved the pinnacle.
Wow.
So I had to rediscover the why. And then you fast forward to 2022 and I almost achieved that goal again. I was very close. And a little thing happened and I didn't. I got my gear stuck and that was that. And man, I didn't sleep for a month and a half after that. I literally did not sleep for a month and a half after that. I mean, I slept, but not through the, not
it
well.
was not restful.
Not very well.
No.
And I was like, I better figure out why I'm doing this because this is terrible. This is not worth it. And so I kind of had to rediscover that. There are a lot of reasons, a lot of why, but I think at this point, yes, to the win, to get the gold is why, to enter a competition, to compete like you want to win, do that. There's no question about that. The win is awesome. And there's no feeling like winning. It's great. The worst feeling is coming in second. And that is the worst position in the entire roster. I have all their sympathy in the world for guys that come in second. And I've done a lot of that. I've done a lot of winning, but I've done a lot of seconds. So because you've done it all, you've gone as far as you can go without winning and you didn't win. And it's just like, oh man, you got to go recover from that and do all the things. But to be able, I think for me, to be able, the long-term why, because I know I will not be able to win forever.
Sure.
That will not be on the table forever. The body degrades.
Yep.
The physical ability I will run out of that ability at some point. But to be able to, there's several reasons. One is very simply just to see how good I can be at something. Me personally, regardless of anyone else. Just how good could I possibly be at this? What is the potential here? So that's one of the big motivating factors. The other is the human interaction. To be able to develop relationships along the way. Because at the end of the day, when all of it's done, your body is broken, and your desire to excel is gone.
Yep.
Hopefully that will never wane. But I mean, certainly to be able to get out there at night and practice, that desire will go away at some point.
Sure.
And to be able to be out in the cold and the wet and practicing and to be able all that, that is gonna cool at some point.
Sure.
And there'll be another wave of guys that'll have to carry that. But when that's all said and done, you're left with the relationships you've built along the way. And you've either nuked them or built them, So, and I've been around people who have nuked them and built them,
Yep.
And you want to be able to be an uplifting influence on people, and I have not always done that, but that is my goal, and so at the end of the day, you're going to be left with the relationships you've formed or you've broken. Yep. And to me, when I go to comps, you have fun. You compete like you mean it.
Sure.
You want to put your entire all in there. And 100%. So the defeats are devastating. I will not sugarcoat that. They are just devastating. And it's just like, man, it takes a long time to recover from it. And the wins are sweet. They really are. And it's fun. But on top of all that, more importantly than all that, I want to be approachable to guys that are new. I want to be encouraging to people that are wanting to be benefit. I'm not going to spoon feed you.
Sure.
I had to put a lot of work into this, and I expect you to as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I retire from mainstream competition, I do plan on teaching the tricks that I've learned.
Yep.
for obvious reasons, you don't necessarily want to just put them all out there at the moment, you know.
Yeah.
But and I don't think many people would blame me for that. But
Sure.
No.
you know, I think there's a lot of merit to being able to get out there on your own and discover these things on your own and to put the work in, because it galvanizes you as a competitor. But you know, when I'm through and when I've had enough and want to go to the judging side of things, you know, I fully intend to sit down and do workshops on where the scores are at and where, you know, to the best of my knowledge. Sure. And the game may be different then. Yep. You know, so the game is very different than the one I started with.
And I can attest to it just as competing. You know, my last comp was 12 years ago, and I've been on the judging side ever since. Yeah. And I've seen changes. The score sheets have changed a little bit. Yeah. Climbing techniques have certainly changed.
They've very much changed. Yeah.
You know, so I concur.
I think that is kind of my why. To mention a few. There are many whys, but I think to mention a few.
No, I appreciate it. No, because like I said, for the listeners would love to hear it too, but I personally wanted to hear it as well. Yeah. You know, because I'm still in. I just recommitted to another 5 years. Yeah. Yeah, because short version is I made a commitment to myself after I hurt myself doing CrossFit 10 years ago. Yeah. Bad. Spine stuff or whatever, but I was like 10 years, I'm going to put everything I got into it. Yeah. And then see how it pans out. And this year, the last weekend was the 10th year of that. And it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I'm happy with my master's mindset of what I planned on doing. Yeah. The throw lines didn't go the way I wanted it to. But after that, going home, you know, reflecting and everything, and I was just like, I'm going to do another 5. But I'm going to do another 5. Kind of everything that you touched on is really what it comes down to. Like, I know there's more that I can do, and I have a lot to learn in order to do more, number one. But number two, I also have my 10-year-old. He's like, he has his own gear. He's just obsessed. So I'm like, you know what?
Gonna get you out there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna get you out there.
So my why has changed from before the competition to today.
That's right.
You know what I mean? In 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
So it's like a readjustment and 5-year destination, and however I get there, so be it.
I've competed for 21 years.
21?
And I've fallen in and out of love with this game half a dozen times.
There you go. Okay.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
But I really, it's the best game in the world.
Yeah.
And I love it.
That's awesome, man.
And I think that, I lost the thought. It was when you were talking about the why, but
no, you get. Yeah, I was just saying readjustment, why, and then I was just gonna cap by saying the beautiful part, and it sounds like cheesy, but it's the whole connection. Because when we are at the end of old age, about to die, we're not. It's not gonna be just the accolades. Yeah, and some of it you'll enjoy, right? Because you did win, you did do stuff, succeed, but it's the connections. Yeah. In my opinion. So,
I remember what it was.
Go ahead.
I've spent a lot of time in the past 3 years listening to sports psychology.
Oh, okay.
And kind of centering my efforts around that. The mentality of approaching the events, how you handle your mind in the half an hour leading up to each event. And there's a sports psychologist from England, I forget as Bill Bessick. That's what his name is.
Bessick, okay.
Bill Bessick. Mm-hmm. And he has a saying that he tells athletes when they come into his office and sit down. He has a set of 3 questions for them. What do you want? How much do you want it? And how much are you willing to suffer?
Okay, got it.
And those are some serious questions that you've got to ask yourself, depending on the level that you want to be at.
Yeah.
I remember when Steph Littenberg came in it may have been 2019. But I think I saw her climb for the first time in 2022, maybe. And then she went to Copenhagen and was like really close to the bottom of the roster. She was like 30 someplace.
Okay.
And in 1 year, she got her stuff together.
Yeah.
Lost a fair amount of weight and changed her eating habits, changed her exercise habits. And she came back the year later and it was like, whoa, that's Steph Littenberg. Gracious time of day.
Wow. Yeah.
She has gotten on the ball. And she won the MAC again and then went back 1 year later in Albuquerque and placed 6th.
Okay, yeah, I remember. I was there. Yeah,
And then she went back 1 year later and placed whatever, 3rd or something.
third year and went to Masters. Yeah.
So I told her after Albuquerque, I said, "Well done." And she's in our chapter.
Yeah.
She, you know, so we work together, we train together
That's
a fair
awesome.
amount. And I told her, I said, "Well done. You made the decision. You took the bull by the horns. You stepped over like 30 people and landed in 6th." And I said, "I'll promise you this." I was like, "I know you're serious. You're definitely serious. That doesn't happen by accident. But the journey from 30th to 6th is going to be way easier than the journey from 6th to 1st.
There you go. Yeah.
And the journey from 6th to 1st, those last 5 spots are going to bring you to tears. And you're just going to question why you do what you do so many times." And I'll let her speak for how that journey's been.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I think she's discovered that to be true, you know,
Yeah.
and still thankfully on the journey,
Yeah.
hot and heavy, you know, and hasn't given it up at all.
Yeah,
But certainly has had to answer that question: why the heck am I putting
Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
through this?
Yep.
And you know, I think everybody has to answer it, and the ones that haven't or have answered it and come up with that this just isn't worth it, they're not there anymore.
Yeah, they step out.
They step
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Sure.
I question it a lot. You know,
Yeah.
like, man, this is a sport with no money, no audience, and a broken scoring system. And why? You know, the one thing it does have is passion.
Yeah.
And the love of the game, man.
And the
that's
people.
That's why, the passion and the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's most of my good friends are from the chapter,
Yeah.
like guys at like Rick Yost and Brick and
Yeah.
the Chisholm family. And just, I mean, it's, you know, my kids, like when my daughter worked for me for Wild Climb, she competed 1 year in the Jersey chapter thing, but she calls them her tree family, and she's a teacher now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she just, you know, and same thing with Mason, my son, like just, you know, he wanted to come and volunteer at Pendle just because he wanted to be around everybody. He's met the guys, but then he went to Crane School with Pete.
Yes.
And so, you know, Pete, Tatey, Roachy, Derek, having Derek come in, like that whole group of guys, he's just like, man, he says, you know, he's not 100% sure this is what he wants to do for the rest of his life. Questioning, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, to be honest, I don't know where I'm going to find this community.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, you may not.
I do. I have understood over the years that this community is unique
Yeah.
in that regard,
Agreed.
like from any other community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a theory on that. You want to hear it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's, to some degree, it's the shared struggle.
Yeah.
Like when I look at you at a comp, regardless of, you know, climbing, you know, anything like that, I see a person, say, and there's a smile and a nod across the, you know, a comp or like a trade show floor, and you know someone's out there daily kind of grinding through it.
Grinding it out.
You know, working outside in the elements.
Yeah.
That's one factor.
Yeah.
Working a loft with risk is another factor.
The shared suck factor.
You know what I mean? So you're kind of like,
Yeah.
you can just kind of respectfully say, like, I don't really know this person per se, but
They're out there giving it their best go.
we're in it.
Yeah.
And then you go to a work day and you work alongside of somebody.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I'm usually at work climb at our chapter, but I was doing ascent at Pendle and just working with the group of judges.
Yeah.
You know, the head judge was great. The tech was awesome. You know, the guy in the tree was one of our chapter guys. And just like you in that few hours together, we built a little bit of camaraderie.
Yeah.
We functioned as a team to the benefit of the climbers. And, man, just sharing in that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it really is. And I intend on doing that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I intend on competing for the rest of my life. And by the way, anyone out there, this is a shameless promotion of the Legend of the Geezers comp every third weekend in January in Florida. For the past few years, we've been growing that comp, and it's international. It's 6 different countries.
That's
and,
cool.
come down third weekend in January in Florida. It's a whole week of just tree climbing. You can come up there. It's pretty relaxed. It loosely follows, well, it fairly tightly, I guess, maybe follows the ISA format.
Okay.
We don't have a blade speed climb. It's the ascent event is just a race to the top of the tree.
Yeah. Okay.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
But those types of things. But we also make it to where you can follow the ISA score sheets if you want to train. But I'll do that for the rest of my life.
That's
but
cool.
yeah, come down, please. Anyone out there that wants to come down and have a good time. I've had the privilege of being one of the head judges of that since 2022, maybe 21. I forget how long we've done it now, but I'll be back down there this coming January, and would love to see everyone. And but yeah, it's so huge to be able to have that to look forward to as well, in the future. But
Sweet.
yeah, any other questions or anything on the list there? Or,
No, we touched on the things. I will say you are preparing for New Zealand. Is your objective now October, right?
Yeah.
Feeling good?
End of October, yeah.
Okay,
Feeling really
feeling
good. I've had a good comp season so far.
Uh-huh.
Came out of a pretty tough comp season in 2022, and had a rocky one in 23 as well.
Oh,
and
you did?
been,
Okay.
24 was good.
It's good.
And 25 has been a really good comp season.
Good.
So just kind of had to recenter through that process and get back in the harness and train. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
So they're bringing Stephanie kids to New Zealand?
Bringing Steph. Yeah.
Okay,
or
good.
maybe Steph's bringing me. I think, maybe that's the
I think
way
you're
that.
right. Yeah.
I don't know if you told me to, I don't know if I'd be capable of buying a plane ticket.
Oh,
She's like the whiz travel agent,
Okay.
So she's great, and she loves travel. It's like her main jam.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
So she loves traveling, and
Cool.
so we're really looking forward to that. And then my man Blaine Bledsoe,
Yeah.
one of my climbers, which for those of you out there, if anyone's listening that doesn't know Blaine, and you're in New Zealand, watch his work climb and watch him operate his throw line. He's fun to watch throw lines, but Blaine is a man. He climbs like a shadow, and he flows.
I love it.
He flows. So he was third behind me and Sean in North American, and then won the MAC.
Oh yeah. That's right.
So it was he's a weapon.
That's cool.
And he's worked for me since 2016. He was 16 years old when he signed on. So for 9
I didn't know
years.
that.
Yeah, he was 16. I've known him. He was born the year I started climbing,
Yeah,
and I've known him his whole life. Yeah,
you have? Yeah. I didn't know that.
His
Yeah.
mom and dad and my mom and dad are friends from way back in the 70s.
That's awesome.
I love, and I think this is a great spot to be. It's bookends.
It's bookends.
He
Yeah,
was 16. You like
yeah.
that's
Pass that on.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm weird like that, where those things really.
No. It's
When I see
perfect.
connections like that, it's like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So you gave a kid an opportunity that was 16.
Yeah.
Like you had.
Yeah, exactly. And that was he's just a fantastic climber.
No. And a good dude.
Oh,
He's
fantastic.
good.
Yeah, fantastic.
Super good dude. Yes.
Which ultimately is more important anyway, isn't it?
Yes, it
Character.
absolutely
Yeah,
is.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
Like,
It absolutely
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you.
we're
I'm
only
really
100%,
excited.
But good
The
luck.
other this kind of gets back to the why is the destination is not a place, it's the journey. The
Yes.
actual journey is the journey is the purpose. That's it. It's not the destination. So you want to there are several quotes that basically encapsulate that sentiment in a much more efficient way, but you know what I mean? That the journey is the goal.
well,
It's
you're
the
becoming
point.
something.
Yes.
It's more
Yeah.
about what you're becoming.
You want to make
through the
sure.
process.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
And
that forging process
Yes.
is what I
Yes, yeah.
really,
Keyword,
really am become attached to.
And I love how you say that, because it reminds me of the refiner's fire,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so that, God can be a consuming fire,
Yes.
but in reality, what he is and what he does graciously to us is refining.
Yes.
And every time we're put back in the heat, brought out, folded, and hammered,
Yeah.
dross comes off and we find out more intricate and more detailed things about ourselves, our shortcomings.
Yeah.
But we're becoming something more useful the more we're forged in that refiner's fire. So, so I dig that. And
it's a big process.
Yeah. And hopefully it never stops, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the journey is ongoing,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that kind of is another big why. Why I do is the journey itself.
Yeah.
I journal a lot. Like in the morning, I'll jot down thoughts, and I journal mostly with the comps, you know, just mental stuff, and a lot of that gets down to is that process.
Yeah, it's good.
It's funny. I'll just tie into that. Like I journal quite a bit, and it's been of it. I think I shared it with you. I started a newer practice. Because I do jot down, like I take it from Spurgeon. He always did like a morning and evening.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
He does his devotion, right?
Yeah.
And I would do a little reflection in just my day runner journal, my day planner thing, bullet journal. And but I have a bigger journal. And what I've been doing is no stimulation in the morning, like no sound, I'm up before everybody, make the coffee, and I just sit in the quiet.
Yeah.
And I journal from that.
Calibrate.
Yeah, and I've been doing that.
You don't want to log on to Instagram first thing in the morning?
No, man. And you know what? You let the whole world in.
Oh my God!
And I've done it.
Yeah, sure. And everybody does.
I still will. Occasionally do it.
Of course, yeah, you do it occasionally.
But the mornings when I'm a little bit more like, I'll reach, and I'm like, no, let me be disciplined here. But that process has been.
It's so important.
It is.
Your day, your day, your ability to make decisions and the way you approach the day is so much better.
It's like a dialing in.
Exactly. It's a calibration process.
I always say you're programming.
Yeah.
If you let all the other stuff come in, that's programming. But if you program, you cut everything out, and you're not doing it actively, but it's programming your day. So like you're settling into your natural state for the day.
Yeah.
As opposed to being kicked off the center by Instagram, you know, that's why getting up earlier is good for you too, because if you wake up at the last minute, now you're rushing around.
That's right.
That doesn't work. So it's just like a programming that you have control over, a little bit at least.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, but so I think that's a good way to.
I mean, we went. I think we went. I don't even know, but we went a good long while.
We went on a journey. And
we went on a journey.
So you've been closing with kind of a cool thing.
Well, see, it's been. I think So usually, like closure is more of an idea that pops up, like as we're talking and stuff.
Yeah.
And like the only thing that keeps popping up is your kids at some point are gonna listen to this. Maybe when they get older.
Yeah.
Is there something that you know what I mean? Like something like, let's say they're not going to watch it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Or something. Is there something that just, you know?
Oh, yeah. To say to the future self.
Yeah. You know?
I suppose maybe just if I could say this to my children and anyone else listening at all would be just basically there's a passage in scripture, you know, whatever your hands find to do it with your might. And, you know, it's just put your all into anything you do. And I think that is regardless as if you believe in the scripture or not, that's a rule to live by. Whatever you do, just give it 100%.
Yeah, there we go.
And give it your very best effort. You know, I tell my kids all the time, I'm not asking you to succeed. I'm asking you to try. That's what I'm asking for here.
I love that.
So
that's great.
I think, you know, continue, and they do it. And I awesome. Just continue to do that. And, treat people the way you would want to be treated.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I'll just say a few words. I appreciate, you know, it's funny. I don't even know where the first time we met was, but I do know you came to our chapter, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, maybe 2 years.
And so I know we talked.
Maybe last year? Was it 2 years?
22.
Yeah, 2 years. And I don't know if I don't feel like that was the first. Anyway, it's been a joy, and I'm glad we got a chance to go a little deeper. And,
absolutely.
I appreciate, I'm not trying to like flatter you or whatever, but I appreciate your demeanor, the smile, you know, the willingness to stop and say hello. It proves that what you say you want to do, you're actually doing.
I'm giving it my best,
which is cool.
man.
And you know what? Look, man, we all can catch each other on a bad day, whatever. I know
Yeah.
I can be a grumpy old man sometimes, you know. But I appreciate it and what you're trying to bring. I want to wish you good luck
thank you.
on your journey.
Thank you.
You know, at New Zealand. You know, I hope it goes well for you.
Thank
and that
you so
you're
much.
able to achieve what you want. You know, blessings to you and your family.
Yeah,
you know,
thank
that
you.
kind of thing. Because
Same to you guys.
That's big.
Yeah, both of you.
You know, that's really what it's all about. That's
Yes,
kind of really,
it is what it's all about.
You know, that's the real why behind what we're doing, I think. And
When the party is over and everything's folded up, you got to go home. And your kids, at the end of the day, they don't care if you won or lost.
that's right.
No.
They really don't.
Yeah.
They just want their dad back home.
No.
You know?
No, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
But no, and I appreciate you making the drive up. You know,
Yeah, it's a
definitely.
pleasure. Yeah.
appreciative of the willingness to
Good time
do
to
that.
reflect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
True. Right? Yeah.
You got something you want to
No,
say?
we're the same. I'm super happy. We met 2016. You remember?
Yeah, it was
Take-
so funny. You posted a picture of yourself bald. I remember Bald Brick.
Yeah.
I remember you when
yeah.
you were bald.
That's it, man. It's a long
I
time.
kind of like the
Yes.
cute, semi-short, awkward stage. That was-
There's all
That was
the
a
journey.
walk
Yeah,
down
yeah,
memory.
right.
Yeah,
I
it
saw
was
the ones the other day.
basically.
They were like up here. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, that's
the short
cute,
one.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
yeah.
met in 2016 at the top of the work climb
Yes.
tree, dude.
Oh,
at
that's
Pendle.
awesome.
And that's when I'm like, hey man, I can't hear, blah blah blah. And then
That was a new experience for me.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, how do we do this?
Yeah.
And you got around that tree great,
I
you know?
appreciate it. I've been working on it since then. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it was nuts.
But yeah, it's cool to build a relationship with you little by little over the years. The stuff that we've been doing together involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? True Timber, Tougher Burger, and then you know
Yes.
competitions. You helping, judging. So it's
Yeah.
been cool. It's real cool to see like how we growing as men, but also as family men.
It's been great.
As we're on the journey of the why, right?
Yes, that's
So-
right. Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and obviously driving up here has been awesome. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I know it'll continue to be.
Roger
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan.
cool, man.
All right, everybody. That's where we're going to land the plane. Man, thanks again, James. Appreciate it. Breck, love you as always. Ben, thanks for your hard work here today. Behind the scenes, appreciate what you do. You do a fantastic job giving us great sound and lighting. Okay, episode 13. That brings it to a close. We're out.
See ya.